The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 951, World Government Arrangements, Navy Preparations. This is a decision made by the five elders. Even if he is the admiral of the navy, he has no right to change it. But I never expected that guy to be Roger's child. He actually escaped the search at that time. It's unbelievable. The information on the table made him unbelievable. In order to eliminate Roger's bloodline, they had made great efforts, but they didn't expect that the other party still survived, and it seemed that some very special people were involved. Don't think about that kind of thing. How to deal with the problem of the 7 warlords. Hawkeye is okay. He will keep his promise. There is still some time before the war, enough for him to arrive. What about the remaining 3? The combat power of the 7 warlords is one aspect, and the attitude is another issue. This is the first group conscription since the establishment of the 7 warlords organization. These 7 warlords enjoy the convenience brought by the 7 warlords identity. It is impossible not to participate in the war at this time. If you refuse to be conscripted, you have to consider the issue of expulsion. Doflamingo should want greater benefits. He has always been like this. It's not difficult to deal with him. The Pirate Queen's attitude is said to be very strange. It's impossible to explain it to her over the phone. Let the Navy send someone to deal with this problem. As for Sea Knight Jinbei, he has some ambiguity with the Whitebird pirates. There is a possibility of betrayal on the battlefield. This hidden danger must be eliminated. There is still time. How is the Navy mobilizing? 50,000 elite troops have arrived at the headquarters, and another 20,000 are on the way. Another 30,000 are being drawn from other areas. The defense work in other areas has also been arranged, and the surveillance ships have been sent out. As for the rest, we can't do anything. Several people put down the paper and pen in their hands. They are also high-level officials of the world government. Although they have various activities on weekdays, they all hope that the world government can develop more stably. They can reach this position, not because of how honest they are, but because they are the most capable among that group of people. The world government needs excellent talents, and the 5 elders know this. There are still limits to where a pure waste can climb. Spandine and Spadam are the limit. Speaking of which, Moria seemed to have been defeated by a newcomer before. Don't worry about such trivial matters. Just update the bounty. There are more than 10 supernovas this year. It's really a turbulent era. It doesn't matter. These people combined are not as important as Whitebird's problem. The new world will help them reduce the number of people. While they were discussing specific matters, Sengoku was also protesting in the room of the 5 elders. I don't agree. 5 elders, is this war too hasty? You know Whitebird's character. He can't be indifferent to the identity of Ace the Firefist. If he really wants to eliminate Roger's bloodline, a secret execution is enough. The consequences of public execution. Whitebird will do everything for his living family, but if this family member is dead, he will consider many things. He did not attack Wano country in the original timeline for this reason. The terrain of Wano country is easy to defend, but difficult to attack. He will not easily sacrifice more lives for the dead. To publicly kill Ace is an open conspiracy, a conspiracy that will drive Whitebird crazy. Sengoku, don't play dumb. You are known as a wise general, can't you see the purpose of this war? Firefist Ace is just a trigger. Roger is dead. His bloodline and subordinates are not important. But Whitebird needs to bow out. This turbulent sea does not need so many powerful pirates. The 5 elders with knives stuck their scabbards on the ground and scolded Sengoku harshly. Kaido, Whitebird, Charlotte Linlin, and red-haired Shanks. If these 4 people get together, they will be a terrifying force that is no less powerful than rocks back then. Before they join forces, we need to reduce their numbers. If they have already joined forces, wouldn't that be even more troublesome? It is impossible for the 4 of them to work together. If we take the initiative to attack the new world and want to wipe them out, they may become a group under the influence of external forces. But this time is different. Whitebird will definitely come to rescue Ace. If he doesn't come, the whitebird pirates will also lose face, and we won't lose anything. But pirates are greedy. As long as he comes, others will not miss the opportunity to defend his territory. This is a benefit that is delivered to them. When the Emperor of the Sea becomes 3 people, they will form a triangle relationship. Although it is stable, they will be wary of each other. Killing whitebird can also boost the morale of the navy. Although there will be casualties, it is definitely worth it. The 3 admirals of the headquarters plus the 7 warlords of the sea, you have enough ability to deal with him. The judgment of the 5 elders is reasonable to some extent, but the problem is that they don't know how many actors there are in the navy. The factions of the navy were much more complicated than they thought, and justice in the eyes of the world government did not match the justice in the eyes of some generals. Is there no room for negotiation? Sengoku, you are the admiral of the navy, but only the admiral of the navy. Do you understand? I need the full support of the scientific forces. If you want to launch such a war, the current headquarters is not enough. You know how much damage whitebird can cause. Sengoku did not want to go to war at this time, but he was powerless to interfere with the decision above. As a marshal, when the order was issued, all he could do was to thoroughly execute the task. Of course, you can mobilize all resources, and the world government will cooperate with you in this regard. However, Sengoku, we can turn a blind eye to Garp's affairs, but don't let him do anything strange. You understand what we mean? Understood. Arranging tactics, coordinating subordinates, many things had to be arranged by Sengoku himself, and he had a bigger problem to solve. After leaving the Red Earth continent, he quickly returned to Marineford and saw Garp, who had been waiting in his office for a long time. There was no less senbei on the table, and it could be seen that Garp was in a bad mood. What happened? Facing Garp's question, Sengoku just shook his head. As an old comrade for decades, Garp also understood what Sengoku meant. Why? There are so many pirates on the 6th floor, and the crimes committed by those pirates are much more serious than Ace. They can all be imprisoned and impaled down, but Ace can't? Just because of his identity? Roger has so many crew members, why did he target Ace? Garp, don't be like a child. This is a problem of the situation on the sea, and also a problem of the relationship between Ace and whitebird. This situation has been possible since the day he went out to sea and became a pirate. Speechless for a moment, after a short silence, Garp silently walked out the door. Chapter 952, The Supernovas of Shampoo. LUO doubts about life. Garp, where are you going? This matter has been decided, and neither you nor I have the ability to change it. Sengoku thought that there was still a chance to save the situation before the war information was published in the newspaper, but the firm attitude of the world government was beyond his expectation. He knew very well that, even if Garp went to Mirajoa, it would be impossible to save the situation. I'm just going to see him. As a grandfather, arrange a ship for me to Impelton. Is that okay? I see. Garp's steps were a little heavy. He always hoped that his grandson could become a navy, but he was not very good at teaching people, or in other words, there were not many people in this world who could educate the next generation. Growth depends on oneself. At this time, Sengoku still believed in Garp's integrity. He felt that he would not do such an outrageous thing as jailbreaking, so he let him go. He would not stop this kind of visit, and it was not easy to stop it. If he was not at ease, it would not be easy to let Garp show up during the war. As a Navy hero, Garp's absence from this war had a very serious impact on the morale of the army. After Garp left, Marineford was temporarily closed. The scientific troops were renovating the coastal artillery and installing special equipment. The manufactured pacifists were also transported to the Sabaody archipelago for the final pre-war test. The Sabaody archipelago was the same as usual, with chaos and prosperity coexisting, but there were a little more supernovas this year. The newcomers from various seas appeared on this island of departure again, just as if they had calculated the time. Luffy and others were also like this. Although the news of Moria's defeat came out, the Straw Hat Pirates did not qualify for the bounty for all members. Although his and Zoro's bounties were still over 100 million, they were not outstanding compared to the supernovas of the same class, and were even a little mediocre. Now they are preparing for the problem of ship coating and listening to Shaki's description of the island, but they did not pay too much attention to these, but Hercule listened with relish. On the other side, in addition to these supernovas, there are also Isuka and Lamy on the island. Sister Isuka, Sister Misu has given me the latest order from Onigashima. External cadres should hurry up to finish the work at hand and then return to Onigashima. It seems that there will be a big move. How are things going? Very soon. It will be done before dark today. Well, let's leave here after we finish this matter. This island makes me upset today. There are more annoying guys. Okay, I'll go to the restaurant over there to buy some food. Come on, kids, I'll take you to dinner. It's the same as before, but now Lamy has matured a lot and has become more stable in doing things. When he came to Shampudi a few years ago, Lamy would also buy food in this restaurant. The quantity was large and affordable. For people in the slums of Shampudi, this restaurant was the most suitable. But this restaurant was under some unbearable pressure. People dressed in gangster clothes occupied a corner of the restaurant. The man in the lead, who was dressed like a godfather, was eating, and his eyes were full of boredom when he looked at the people around him. A vulgar woman is disgusting. Go and seal her mouth. The captain of the flame tank pirates, the gangster Capone Veg, has a bounty of 138 million berries. The person she despised for being vulgar was another supernova, the captain of the Bonnie Pirates, the big eater Joel Bonnie, with a bounty of 140 million berries. She was eating a lot at the table with pink hair. This can't be done, Godfather. This is right under the eyes of the Navy. If it causes a large-scale commotion. Bedge stopped her actions and picked up the fork and stabbed it in the face of the younger brother. The younger brother had some sense, but Bedge still did it because the younger brother's dissuasion violated the rules of his gang. At the same time, Bonnie was shouting for more food. The waiter of the restaurant bumped into someone in a panic and was then supported by Lamy, who entered the restaurant. Be careful, waiter. Thank you. Hey, what do you mean by putting spaghetti on my pants? Lamy held the waiter, but the plate in his hand still flew to someone else. On this day when pirates gathered, a pirate was hit by him. Sir, it's not good to fight and kill. There are so many children here. Can you not be too presumptuous? The pirate was about to draw his sword, but Lamy pressed it back and dissuaded him with a kind smile. He was not a good man, and he didn't care about children, but the strength of Lamy's hand made him unable to draw his weapon. Just when he wanted to take out other weapons, his captain stopped him. Stop it, Captain. 100% defeat rate, 100% mortality rate. This is your future, and the face of death is already spinning on you. Long golden hair, nail-like eyebrows, and a cross tattooed on his chest. Captain of the Hawkins Pirates, Magician Basil Hawkins, bounty of 249 million baileys. He is the most superstitious person among the supernovas. He basically relies on his own divination to do things, and usually decides the next action, based on the result of divination. The divination of the card gave him a very clear message, that he would be at peace, if he didn't take action, and the chance of winning was zero. In this case, he would naturally stop his men. From a metaphysical point of view, he predicted Lamy's next plan. If the pirate continued to take action, Lamy would release the toxin he prepared, causing him to die inexplicably in a few minutes. Looking at the Hawkins Pirates, who were dressed like a religious group, Lamy didn't say anything, but packed a lot of food and left. The chaotic restaurant made her give up the idea of dining here. It's just that the chaos is not only here. This restaurant can be said to be restrained, and outside, some people have already started fighting. With the character of pirates, this is not surprising. Fighting bravely is their normal state, but near these people, another person who was watching the excitement was rubbing his eyes. Captain, that woman looks a bit like you. If you are also a girl, you might be her sister. Captain? Captain? What's wrong with you? Shaki and Pekin were joking with Luo, but Luo didn't react at all. He just stared at that face blankly. Sister Lamy, can we eat now? Wait a little longer. It's windy here. Eating will upset your stomach. We can eat on the boat later. The child's voice reached Luo's ears, and Lamy's voice also evoked Luo's memories. Wait, Lamy? Huh? Who are you? Do we know each other? Chapter 953 Strange Brothers and Sisters. Lami's face is very different from when she was a child. When Law saw Lami in the newspaper, he couldn't be sure for a while whether it was his sister. After that, Law went through a long preparation and finally entered the Grand Line. During the voyage, he became a bounty collector like some people, mainly collecting Lami's bounty. The people of the Arceus cult generally keep a low profile. Except for extremely special circumstances, they will not participate in battles, and will even take the initiative to attack pirates. However, in the eyes of the world government and the navy, this is still a branch of the beast pirates. Lami, who often follows Isuka in shampoo, was eventually put on the bounty. Even if she doesn't kill many people, her ability to knock down a team of navy with a wave of her hand makes people who don't know terrified. She is a walking humanoid biochemical weapon. If it weren't for Quinn standing in front of her, Lami would probably receive more attention. Law didn't know this, but he found some clues through the bounty. Through the analysis of the photos, he refined Lami's facial features into data, and then compared them with himself, and found some similarities. This doesn't prove anything, but the overlap in data plus the same name gave him more hope. Meeting Lami in the Sabaody archipelago was a pleasant surprise. Shaki and Pekin didn't notice that Lami was the woman on the wanted poster that Luo Xianshan was paying attention to. In the photo on the wanted poster, Lami was wearing casual clothes, but at this time, Lami was wearing a decent nun's uniform. According to Misu, she was already a qualified nun. The style of the nun's uniform has not changed much, but the logo of the Thousand Universe bracelet has been cleverly integrated into the neckline, cuffs and other positions. If you look closely, you can see that the metal decorations left on the clothes just form a simple Thousand Universe bracelet. The original designer of the costume was Misu, but later a starfish from Fishman Island made some suggestions and finally finalized the new religious costume. The biggest change is the headscarf, which originated from the ancient Sinnoh region and is similar to the female characters in the Zuki version. After the big change in clothing, people who don't pay special attention to her can't recognize her at all. In this world, where face blindness is prevalent, it is not easy for Pekin and Shachi to find that the two are a little similar. Who are you? These three words made Luo's heart cold. Just when he wanted to reveal his identity, he was interrupted by Lami, and Lami's words rekindled his hope. I remember who you are, the captain of the Heart Pirates, Trafalgar Law, bounty of 200 million Baileys. The hope that had just been ignited was extinguished again. Lami used a few short words to make Luo experience the ups and downs of life. At first, they were unfamiliar, and then Luo thought that the other party recognized him, but the result was such a name. Recognition is recognized, but this method is not what Luo wants. His sister will not call him in this way. After taking a few deep breaths, Luo calmed down his excitement. He thought of many possible situations, and there are worse ones than this. Now it is not 100% certain that Lami is Lami, so Luo will not lose his composure directly. Can I bother you for a few minutes, Miss Lami? No, I don't have much to talk about. Please wait a moment. I just want to know your relationship with Sister Misu. Seeing that Lami was about to leave, Luo directly said Misu's name. Without knowing Lami's specific situation, he knew that this was the only survivor of Frevens besides himself. Do you know Sister Misu? Are you the child she took care of outside? Unlike Lami, although Misu has a higher status in the Arceus cult, she has not been rewarded. She mostly participated in secret operations and had very few interactions with the Navy. Even the people in the Navy dodged her before. Because of the 7-star sword, they didn't have much impression of this. Not many people in the outside world knew the name Misu. She thought Luo had received Misu's favor before, and because of the sect's clothing, he recognized that she and Misu belonged to the same sect, so he stopped her. I guess so. I was born in Frevens, and listened to the nuns' lectures before. Luo said the name of Frevens word by word, carefully observing Lami's reaction. Are you also from Frevens? That's great. The nun would be very happy if she knew. She always thought there were no survivors in Frevens. What about you? I'm the nun's adopted daughter. She adopted me outside and gave me a home at that time. Due to platinum lead poisoning, Lami suffered from severe amnesia at the time and could not remember what happened before. In order to prevent Lamy from immersing herself in grief, Misu made up a false life experience and let Lamy start her new life. Misu didn't care about the pirate information from the outside world, never paid attention to Luo's news, and never mentioned such things to Lamy. Even the past things were always vague, so Lamy didn't know when Misu started to believe in the Arceus god cult, and didn't notice what Frevens meant in Luo's words. In Lamy's cognition, she was just an orphan adopted by Misu. What's your name? No, it should be your last name. And don't you have any brothers or something like that? Lamy's previous words made Luo feel that something was wrong, so he didn't abruptly say that he might be her brother. If the Lamy in front of him is his sister, then it is obvious that she has lost that memory. The sudden stimulation may have a bad effect, so Luo is just slowly inducing Lamy. No, Mr. Pirate. Lamy is the name given to me by the nun. You are a little strange. If you are concerned about the nun, then I will say hello to the nun on your behalf. If you have the ability and can pass the review, you can join us. Recruiting new members for the pirate group is not Lamy's job. Misu has helped many people outside. It is not that you can join them directly without this relationship. Gurgle. A sound of stomach growling came into Lamy's ears. Looking at the drooling children next to her, she knew that she had delayed too long. I have something else to do. If there is a chance, see you in the new world, Mr. Pirate. Lamy wanted to leave, and Luo would certainly not miss the opportunity that came with great difficulty. He wanted to make it clear. He didn't believe that Misu would specifically adopt a girl who looked a bit like his sister at that time, and gave her his sister's name. But before he could ask any more questions, the wall next to him suddenly exploded, and a large number of tiles flew towards him. Chapter 954. You are not my type. Chaotic Shampoo Land. Be careful. In the blink of an eye, a hemispherical space enveloped the nearby area. In Luo's heart, Rami was probably his sister. Even if he was not sure, he had a desire to protect her, and wanted to move her to a safe place. As for the children next to her, Luo did not care. He was no longer that innocent child. People always change. Luo's original dream was very ordinary. He wanted to become a great doctor like his father. But after the Frevens incident, all his family and classmates died. At that time, he had a mental breakdown and became cold and cruel. The goal of living was to take revenge on the world and destroy everything in the last time. Rocinant's gentleness saved him. After that, Luo began to cherish his partners, but the coldness in his heart did not dissipate. He did not want to take action against people who had nothing to do with him and could not bring any benefits. He could only move one person at the first time. Of course, he would protect the person who was suspected to be his sister, but the embarrassing problem came when he successfully moved Rami with the room slaughterhouse and brought her to a safe place. The next moment, Rami returned to the previous position again, and all the bricks and rubble were caught in her hands. Captain, she seems to be better than you. Law didn't care about his subordinate's complaints, but looked at Lamy's wrist, which was exposed due to the increased amplitude of her movements, and a faint birthmark came into his eyes. It was the same birthmark as her biological sister. With this birthmark, plus the special interpersonal relationship, he had determined that the other party was his sister. But when everything came to a conclusion, he didn't want to force the recognition. If Lamy still remembered him, the situation would be different, but Lamy was obviously in a state of amnesia at this time, and had no impression of him. And he had something he had to do. There was a huge hatred between him and Doflamingo, and he wanted to avenge Rocinant. Law didn't know whether he could defeat Doflamingo. If not, then recognizing Lamy would only increase the sadness. He could be sure that his sister was still alive, and seemed to be living a good life, which was enough. It would be better to wait until he defeated Doflamingo before talking about the recognition. So cool, Sister Lamy, you are so awesome. Sister Lamy, you are so strong. Can you even crush a brick? In the eyes of the children and the slums, Lamy, who brought them food and protected them, is becoming more and more popular. You can do it after you learn. Now follow these two uncles to the boat to find Sister Iska, okay? Sister will find you soon. Lamy waved and called a few employees of the beast fruit who were watching the excitement. Bricks and gravel will not fly out of thin air. There was an explosion in the restaurant next door just now, which led to this situation. Ordinary people have already fled in all directions, but the employees of the beast fruit are used to it. They want to see what kind of young people are fighting here, and Lammy happened to see it. Because they often come to shampoo, the employees here are very familiar with Lammy and Isuka, and it is no problem to tell them some small things. The situation here is no longer suitable for children to stay, so let them leave first. Okay, with a burst of responses, they followed the staff of the beast fruit and left. Lammy looked at Law. Now she felt that Law was a little strange. His goal seemed not to say hello to the nun, but to herself. In order to prevent Law from affecting those children, she did not leave with him. Mr. Pirate, your pickup skills are not very good. Ahem. Pickup? Law almost choked to death on his own saliva. Lammy's words made him break down in advance without meeting Luffy. After all, it was not a good experience to be asked to pick up by his own sister. But in Lammy's eyes, a strange man who had nothing to do with him suddenly found a reason to talk, which could only be regarded as picking up. Isn't it? I have no interest in your type at all. That's really a pity. Law did not argue, but followed Lammy's words. Boom. Originally, Law wanted to find out more about Lammy, but the wall next to him exploded even more. This time it was no longer ordinary rubble, but a big hole was directly blown out, and a figure flew out from it. If you want to fight, come out and join me. Don't you know how powerful I am? A long-armed man shouted at the hole in the wall. He was also one of the supernovas, the captain of the radio pirates, Haming, Skirachiman with a bounty of 198 million berries. He was just eating in the restaurant, but he got into a fight with someone because of a disagreement. To be more precise, they were unhappy with each other, which led to the current situation. Then don't stare at me, you disgusting guy. I can kill you right now. Apu's opponent also walked out of the tavern with red hair and was still a healthy person for the time being. The captain of the Kid Pirates, Yustachi Kid, with a bounty of 315 million berries, is also the man with the highest bounty among this group of supernovas. Captain, don't do it. This is Shampoo Land. Mr. Apu, calm down. Seeing their boss about to fight, their younger brothers began to dissuade him. Making too much noise in Shampoo Land would not benefit anyone. However, the supernovas who can come here are all troublemakers among troublemakers. Not all of them can think calmly. A magnetic force gathered in Kid's hands, and the knives and forks in the restaurant, as well as the surrounding metal objects, flew towards Apu under his control. He is a magnetic man who has eaten the superhuman magnet fruit. He can create a magnetic field, magnetize metal objects and manipulate them. In terms of personality, Kid is the most brutal one among the supernovas of this year. He is easily angered by trivial matters. His attack does not care about the people around him. The flying knives and forks also include Lammy and Eluo in the attack range. With their skills, it was not difficult to dodge such an attack. Normally, Law would not be angry about such a thing, and would even say hello to Kid with a smile. But this time was different. Seeing Kid attacking indiscriminately, Law was furious. The space of the operation fruit was expanded again, and Law had already drawn his sword to slash at Kid, who was about to continue attacking App. Although Kid dodged the slash, he had a bad feeling in his heart when he saw the floating stones behind him. Baton. Law raised his finger upward, and a large number of stone tables and chairs flew towards Kid from behind, as if to bury him alive. At the same time, a rotating scimitar also slashed at Law, and a thick pillar smashed at the person who wanted to slash at Law. The peaceful scene just now disappeared in an instant, and turned into a chaotic battlefield where various forces gathered. Chapter 955. There are two kinds of red hair. One is called red hair and the other is called Kid. The one who attacked Law was a member of Kid's Pirates, Killer Warrior, Killer, with a bounty of 162 million berries, while the one who attacked Killer was the captain of the Broken Monk Pirates, Weird Monk, Urauge, with a bounty of 108 million berries. The captain's personality will determine the style of his subordinates. The pirates under Hawkins are dressed like a cult. Bedge's subordinates are all dressed like Mayfair, and Law's subordinates also have uniform clothing. This is just the appearance that can be seen, and there are also invisible styles of behavior that have a greater impact, such as the bellicosity of Kid's pirates. When Kid and Appo were not happy with it, Urauge and Killer also started fighting and gradually approached Kid. Urauge is huge, but his flexibility is far less than Killer. After Killer discovered Law's behavior, he abandoned Urauge and turned to attack Law, which made Urauge very unhappy and naturally followed him. You are not allowed to attack Kid. Where are you looking? Masked bastard. Your opponent is me. Boom. The pillar in Ulki's hand did not hit Kira, but fell on the ground beside him. Kira took the opportunity to swing his sickle and slash at Ulki behind him. The blade rubbed a series of sparks on Ulki's pillar, forcing Ulki to temporarily let go of his weapon and punch Kira. This punch should not have hit, but when Kira attacked Law, he had already entered Law's territory. With a wave of Law's finger, Kira's position changed, and Ulki's punch that should have missed hit the bullseye. Is the cooperation good? Do you want to join forces to deal with these guys? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Seeing that Law took the initiative to cooperate with him, Ulki immediately proposed to join forces. Blah blah. Do you want to deal with that guy? Then count me in. I've been annoyed with him for a long time. Before Law gave a reply, Appo on the side came up. He was the one who started the fight with Kid, so he naturally would not miss this opportunity. I just want to teach him a lesson. Looking at Lamy, who was watching the fun with his head tilted, Law intended to leave a better impression and didn't want to be too violent, but his unwillingness didn't mean Kid agreed. Trafalgar, you bastard. Kid, who was buried in the ruins, also crawled out at this time. Looking at Kira, who was hit by Urauge's punch, and looking at Law, who attacked him, Kid's already bad mood became even more angry. Join forces? In this case, all of you go to hell. Looking at the three captains who had the intention to join forces, Kid was not afraid, but began to attract the surrounding weapons. The metal was gradually gathered by it, and finally formed two hideous mechanical arms. In terms of courage and recklessness, Kid is not inferior to anyone. In the original timeline, this is the person who dared to provoke Red Hair shortly after entering the new world, but lost an arm without even seeing him. Then he met Kaido again. Thunder and Gossip didn't defeat him. He also played confidently in the Battle of Onigashima and challenged Red Hair again. He didn't realize that even in the battle with Big Mom, the main output was Law. Without the buffs of Straw Hat Luffy and the good man Odin, he was no match for the real four emperors. He was very brave in the face of Red Hair and hit GG under the divine avoidance. Now that he has not experienced a beating, he is even braver. Even if these people really join forces, he dares to give it a try. Miss Lamy, this is not a safe place. How about I take you away from here first? Is this the follow-up of your flirting? These people seem to know you. I think you misunderstood, Miss Lamy. Lamy was just joking. When she saw the awkward and helpless expression on Law's face, she found it very interesting and had an inexplicable sense of familiarity, so she simply teased him a few more times. Lamy doesn't think she has the kind of charm that makes others unable to extricate themselves at first sight. Stop flirting with me. If you have the guts, block all the attacks. Kid's hands began to close, and the two mechanical arms also slapped towards Lamy and others. Although Urauge and Appo both proposed to join forces, they chose to evade instead of defending. The most lacking thing in the pirate alliance is trust. Even if they have a common enemy, they will be wary of each other. It's not a life and death moment, so they won't help to withstand the attack. Luo Gang wanted to move Lamy like before, but Lamy stopped him in advance. Mr. Pirate, it's very rude to always use your abilities on others. Lamy's fingers liquefied, and a few drops of colored liquid flew out of her hands and fell squarely on Kid's mechanical arm. At the moment of contact with those metals, a large amount of foam began to grow, and Kid's mechanical arm turned into nothingness in the blink of an eye, leaving only liquid with a pungent smell. What? Iron-eating bacteria. One of the bacteria that grows in the body of the Alola mud, a special bacteria that feeds on metal. Facing Kid's mechanical arm, this bacteria can just counter it. At first, it was an accidental injury, and Lamy didn't care, but Kid took the initiative to attack her, and she would not give him face. Although he also had red hair, he didn't eat the face fruit, and he didn't have the strength. Before Kid could react, Lammy used the razor to come in front of him, and in front of several pirate groups, she slapped Kid's face lightly. The direct damage was not high, but the insult reached the extreme. Being slapped in public by a woman was a great humiliation for Kid. Everyone in Kid's pirate group thought Kid was about to explode, but Kid didn't say anything. Kid, what's wrong with you? Killer was about to ask Kid about his plan, but found that Kid's face had a touch of green, and there were several more bloodshot eyes. No matter how they shouted, he didn't respond. Stop. Kira wanted to stop Lammy, but his body also became stiff. Sorry, I forgot to say the name of the move. Your captain was poisoned by my poison. If you have a good physique, it will be relieved in 1 or 2 hours. Remember not to touch him, otherwise it will be contagious. Moses, Uncle Tiger? What's the matter? Lammy answered the phone and walked towards the direction where the children just left, as if no one was around. The captain and deputy of the Kid Pirates were both in a state of stiffness at this time. The rest of the men didn't know what to do, so they had to stand there and look at the other pirates around them vigilantly. Others didn't dare to get close to Lammy. The pirate with a bounty of 315 million baileys was knocked down by her slap, which was beyond the cognition of these pirates. Even Drake, who was hiding in the dark and wanted to find an opportunity to show his presence in front of the beasts, was stunned. This was completely different from what he thought. Chapter 956. Involution is not friendly to undercover agents. Kid gives Drake a chance. Drake's undercover journey has just begun. The internal circulation of the beasts has led to an increase in overall strength, which is not good news for the Navy and Drake, who is about to go undercover. If you want to find out key intelligence, you have to find a way to enter the top of the beasts, and in the environment of the great internal circulation of the beasts, it has become more difficult to enter the top. Drake's current bounty has a lot to do with the warring states. With his help, he, the fallen rear admiral, can quickly become a supernova and reach the Sabaody archipelago. But this is not enough. Drake's bounty is just his graduation diploma. With this thing, he has a stepping stone to join the beasts. The ability of the ancient species means that he is professionally matched, but that's all. A young man who has just graduated has a huge disadvantage compared to the young people trained by the beasts themselves. Moreover, in the increasingly expanding era of pirates, there are more and more pirates with the same level as him, which makes Drake's competition more intense. When he found the beast's men in Shampoo, he had intended to take the opportunity to make himself more visible and let those interviewers get to know him better, which would be beneficial for the later actions. So when the conflict just broke out, he had been hiding in the dark with the mentality of watching the show, waiting for the opportunity to take action. But the facts gave him a painful blow. Although Lammy's slap hit Kid's face, the damage was synchronized to Drake's heart. 2 attacks. No, just 1 attack to defeat the bounty criminal with the highest bounty. The first attack eroded Kid's metal arm, and the second attack directly made Kid fall into stiffness. This was one of Lammy's few performances, and it also made Drake realize for the first time how many monsters there were under the command of the giant beasts. Captain Drake, is that woman a pirate from the New World? Drake's men did not know Drake's specific situation. In their eyes, Drake was a former major general who betrayed the Navy, and because of his identity as a former major general, he knew much more than those fledgling pirates. Yes, a member of the Beast's pirates, a religious force under their command, the poisonous nun, Lammy, with a bounty of 165 million baileys. Drake's goal is to be an undercover in the Beasts. In order to find an opportunity, he has a certain impression of the famous people in the Beasts. 100 million. She just killed the 300 million kid in a second. Bounty does not completely represent strength, but this woman, the Navy may really underestimate her. Listening to his subordinates' complaints, Drake didn't know what to say. The intelligence department of the Navy is a bit unreliable, but the bounty setting is usually still desirable. Lammy's ability is not simple, but compared to Jack, who is looking for fights everywhere, Kaido, who makes big news at every turn, and Quinn, who is often blamed, Lammy is not that scary. In addition, she is just a nun, and she doesn't do fighting and killing on weekdays. Even the Navy has no casualties in her hands, which leads to the fact that the bounty is not scary. In the new world, Lami's ability is not too terrifying. People with strong physique and domineering can resist the poison she releases, but it is different here. Like Quinn, she is good at bullying. The weaker the enemy, the more terrifying her performance. If Kid met a fighter like Batman, he could still fight for a few rounds with his ability. Even if it was Isuka, he might be a punching bag for a while, but he happened to meet Lami. Captain, the girl you are chatting up doesn't seem simple. I said I'm not chatting up. The time point for Law to break the defense is being constantly advanced, but looking at the stiff kid, Law's heart is actually very complicated. He is happy that Lami has such strength, which means that Lami's life will be safer in the future, but at the same time he feels sorry for Lami's experience. He doesn't know what Lami has experienced to change from a cribby back then to what he is today. Captain Hawkins, is this why you stopped me? Drake is not the only one watching the excitement. The people of Hawkins' pirates are also watching the situation here in the tavern. The pirate who almost fought, but was stopped by Hawkins felt a little weak in the knees. Even the brutal kid was killed in seconds. If he fought, who knows what the result would be. This is fate. Don't worry. You don't look dead on your face, but others are different. Several straws extended from Hawkins' body, and several cards floated in the air under the control of the straws. Hawkins also silently changed the position of the cards. What are you talking about? Conflict probability 99.5%, mortality rate 50%, escape success rate 69.6%. He looks half dead. Metaphysics may not be credible, but compared with the words of my grandmother in my hometown, it is relatively reliable. When Hawkins finished the divination, Kid moved again. Puff, puff. Several blood flowers exploded on Kid's arms. It was not an attack by the enemy, but it was similar to an internal explosion, which caused his blood vessels to burst. As the blood flowed all over his arms, his body actually moved again. Magnetic. Reflect. The remaining metal around was attracted by his ability again, and bounced towards Lami. However, Lami didn't even have the interest to resist. Although she was an animal type ability user, she had a natural type mud body, which made her basically invincible in the first half. I underestimated the physique and perseverance of these newcomers. It seems that the toxicity has been reduced too much. Lami can control the intensity of her toxicity. She just wanted to teach these people a lesson, and didn't want to cause a biochemical crisis in Shampoo Land, so she diluted her toxins. It's just that she underestimated Kid's physique so much that Kid still had the ability to resist. When Lami was thinking about whether to give Kid a ruthless blow, a blue figure appeared in front of her. Clang. Drake, who was watching the show in the corner, suddenly appeared on the track of Kid's attack, and bounced off Kid's attack on Lami. If you want to fight, go to the new world. Don't make trouble here. This was his apparent reason. The Sabaody archipelago was too close to the Navy headquarters. If a big commotion was caused, it would not be good for anyone. Moreover, this would allow him to show his presence in front of Lami. At this moment, he was a little grateful for Kid's impulse, giving him the opportunity to show his presence. For this, he even made a cool move, but the development of things once again exceeded his expectations. He did not wait for Lami's question, but waited for Law's knife. Trafalgar Law, this is not a place for a fight, don't you understand? You don't have to teach me how to do things. I just don't like you and want to chop you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 957 Chaos in Shampoo Land. Luo was very upset. In his mind, Drake had been dissected by him several times. He and Lami talked about it, because it might be his own sister. Luo also confirmed this in the subsequent conversation. But what was Drake doing? He was showing off in front of his sister. What did this guy want to do? Exclamation mark. Trafalgar, I'm not here to fight. I don't want to fight either. I just want to chop you. He also evaluated the supernovas of his time. According to his analysis, Kid's group was the most unstable factor. Luo was more scheming, but relatively calm. He should know what the result would be if he took action in shampoo. As a result, after he took action, Luo was more like a madman. On the contrary, Kid did not continue to take action due to physical reasons, but just looked at the other pirates around him vigilantly. Seeing Luo's unreasonable appearance, Drake's anger also came up. He was not a pirate, but an undercover of sword. He was not happy with these pirates. If Luo insisted on fighting, he didn't mind. It just happened to show his value. But just when he was about to transform and let the future examiner see his professional certificate, he found that Lammy had left, leaving only a back figure, and didn't care about them at all. And from beginning to end, Lammy was just on the phone and didn't even look at him. This is different from what I thought. The people of the beasts left, so there was no point in him fighting. He rarely contacted the Navy headquarters, but not long ago, the Navy headquarters sent him a message, asking him not to delay, let alone a conflict in Sabaody, and to enter the New World as soon as possible to find opportunities. There was no information disclosed there, but he also understood that the Navy might have some big moves, so they came out to mediate the battle. Unfortunately, he didn't have the face of Red Hair, or Law, who was already in a state of anger, didn't intend to give him this face. The calmest and the ones who tried to persuade the fight all fought, not to mention the other pirates. A big melee between supernovas broke out on the Sabaody archipelago until the arrival of the celestial dragons. They temporarily stopped fighting and finally left. It is no secret that provoking the celestial dragons will bring about the admirals of the Navy. Most people still take this into consideration, even these supernovas. Uncle Tiger, I'm sorry, I was busy just now. You can continue. Well, as I said before, something happened on Fishman Island. A mermaid might be in trouble. Olga's rotom is turned off, and I don't have her Denmashi number, so I can't contact her. According to the schedule, she should meet up with you soon, so ask her to help you then. Rotom's phone has a shutdown function. Unless the highest authority, that is, Arceus, can forcefully wake up the turned off Rotom, no one else can contact a person whose phone is turned off. From the perspective of a worker, this design is very inhumane, but except for extremely special circumstances, this authority has never been used. Arceus has no intention of waking people up at 3 in the morning to work overtime. Got it? There are still 2 hours before the rendezvous. I will tell Sister Olga then. Eldest sister and older sister do not mean the same thing. In the world of pirates, eldest sister is more of a title of status, and older sister is a title of intimacy. Due to Olga's age and appearance, the seniority in the beasts has always been very messy. But the pirates don't care about this issue. When the difference in strength is obvious enough and the two sides have no close private contact, even if they are old enough to be grandfathers, they have to call each other elder brother. When Lammy returned to the ship, Olga had already arrived at the rendezvous point in advance and was lying in a rocking chair. According to her own words, she is over 200 years old, so it is reasonable to take care of her old age. Unlike other pirates who have to take care of their own ships, Olga's Shadow Fox is parked at the commercial dock in a dignified manner, but the people around her turn a blind eye to it. Under the influence of the illusion, this is no longer the dock they know. Sister Olga, Sister Iska, are you back? I heard you played with those newcomers for a while. They're all weirdos, few of them look normal. Oh, by the way, Sister Olga, Uncle Tiger just sent me a message saying that a merman has gone missing here and wants you to help find him. The specific information has been sent to your phone. Take a look first. Lammy repeated Tiger's words and reminded Olga to check her inbox. Tiger, why didn't he contact me directly? Listening to Lammy's words, Olga called Elizabeth to the side and searched through the backpack on her back. Your phone is turned off and he can't find you. Oh, I turned it off at Hancock's place before. No wonder I feel like something is missing recently. As Olga's Rotom phone was turned on again, the Rotom that was boarding inside also yawned and made a greeting sound. When the boarding tool is turned off, Rotom sometimes chooses to sleep, which is why Tiger has not contacted Olga. Oh, did the mermaid who followed that starfish get lost? It's been so many years, how can she still be so careless? I remember her name is Kami. Her confused personality hasn't improved. Today's Fishman Island is different from the past. Under the powerful crackdown by Tiger and Jin, the disappearance of people in Fishman Island has almost disappeared. Through Tiger's prestige, the rogue fishermen in Fishman Street formed a special guard team. In addition to joining the mining company's mining operations, they also patrol the safety of Fishman Island. But Fishman Island is not a prison. Neither Otterheim nor Neptune can find all citizens in Fishman Island. Whether it is a mermaid or a fishman, it is their freedom to go out. Kami didn't deliberately go to a dangerous place. The safety education of Fishman Island is in place. Moreover, the territory of New Fishman Island and Mandafesh are safe tourist destinations. There is no need to go to Shampoo Land to take risks. But her personality is always confused. She is always swallowed by sea beasts when she is not careful. It is a coincidence that she can come here. The changes in Fishman Island cause the price of mermaids to soar. The human traffickers rarely found mermaids, so of course they would not let go of such an opportunity. Also swallowed with her was Papagu, a very magical starfish. Because he thought he was a human, he learned human language unconsciously, and even had intelligence that was not inferior to that of humans. Because he participated in the design of the clothing of the cult of Arceus, Papagu had Tiger's contact information, which indirectly contacted Olga. Sister Olga, where should we find her? The human auction house. If something happened to her, she must be there. Chapter 958, Beast Pot Culture. Didn't Miss Yamato burn all the human auction houses? Yes, and I have done this before, but it's useless. Profits drive these people crazy. Even if these things are destroyed, new human auction houses will be born soon. The roots here are rotten. If they are not cured, it will be useless to remove more bad leaves. Olga regularly clears out a group of human traffickers every year, but this behavior is only a temporary solution. For the sake of profit, there will always be people who take this path and enslave weaker compatriots in exchange for their own interests. The Sabaody archipelago is right under the nose of the world government. The existence of the human auction house means that this is something that the world government tacitly approves. After all, the place with the most slaves in the world is not somewhere else, but the Holy Land Mirajoa. Those celestial dragons are easy to fool. I'll think about which vest to use this time. As she grew up, Olga's vests gradually increased. Some of the famous pirates she killed could not rest in peace even after death. They were often put on vests by Olga to carry out some secret operations, which made the Navy very worried. Some actions were done perfectly by Olga, and no one could suspect her, but as long as they were done, they would leave traces, and sometimes their vests would reveal some flaws. Her ability is illusion, which is no secret in the eyes of the Navy, but her illusion is too real, and the Navy can't be sure whether it is an illusion or the real person, so they can only take two approaches at the end. Wait, you should not follow me, let's go back first. Recently, except for the Carters stationed on the island, all other Carters have been called back to Onigashima. I guess something big is going to happen. I'm enough here in Shampoo Land. You can take these little guys back first. Too many subordinates are not meaningful to Olga. The best place for her to perform is when there is no friendly army in the whole field. Neither she nor Quinn could match Jin in single combat, whether it was individual defense, attack, or speed. Even in terms of skills, Jin was far ahead of her and Quinn, but in group battles, Jin could not match them. This was the difference brought by ability. Under Olga's arrangement, Lamy and Isuka returned home early with their newly adopted children, while she and Elizabeth headed for the human auction house. Where did Papagu go? Isn't he Kami's master? Why did he disappear at this time? I didn't notice it. He seemed to have gone to that luxury store to borrow a Den Mushi. Ignore him for now. Let's find a way to get Kami back first. There are still a lot of prize money and treasures left from the last competition, which should be enough. Luffy and others discussed how to save Kami. In the eyes of most people, this group of people were just pirates. They could not claim to be righteous, but they were a group of qualified friends. Even if they were just casual acquaintances, they did not just leave. Instead, they inquired about the news and came to the human auction house. At the back of the auction house, a group of strange people also appeared here. The people from the Heart Pirates and Kid Pirates came here with no idea of their mentality, but they all looked injured. Kid's arms were wrapped in bandages, Law had a band-aid on his face, and Killer also had a bandage around his neck, and they didn't look very good. The previous melee left almost all the supernovas involved injured, especially Kid and Killer. They attracted a lot of firepower, and almost got caught in it. If it weren't for the appearance of the celestial dragons, they might not have been able to get out so quickly. At this time, Kid was glaring at Law, as if he wanted to kill him with his eyes, while Law completely ignored Kid, and looked at the slaves being auctioned on the stage with a little amusement. The mermaid, as the finale of the sale, was not pushed out until the end, and Olga also came to the backstage at this time. Her idea was very simple, leaving an illusion, and then getting rid of the person without anyone noticing. By the time those people reacted, she had already left with Kami. It was just because her cell phone was turned off that she arrived a little late. When she arrived here, she only saw a white-haired old man. Hey, is the backstage of this auction so powerful? Can it even catch someone like you? What are you talking about? I'm just an ordinary old man. I sold myself here because I really had no money to drink. Is Pluto Silvers really also an ordinary old man? You really have a bad taste. If you were really an ordinary old man, wouldn't you be panicked or shout for help when you saw me suddenly appear in front of you? Others couldn't recognize him, but Olga had seen this face in the intelligence. The former vice captain of Roger's pirate group, the man known as the right arm of the Pirate King, even if he was old, was not something that an auction house could deal with. What about you? Are the disasters under Kaido also like me, an old man, looking for pocket money here? Who? The guards behind him found Olga's figure, but before he could say anything, the transparent tail blade pierced his skull, and pierced his brainstem, and Elizabeth also lifted the invisible posture. Olga, the person is in front. Come on, just play your game here. I want to see which unlucky guy will buy you. I say, shouldn't you respect the elderly, and help me untie this explosive collar? I'm not interested. Play slowly by yourself. Olga's appearance was just to say hello to this living old predecessor, and to get familiar with his way of speaking, so that she could wear his vest in the future. After achieving her goal, she walked directly to the front of the stage. But when she walked out, the auction hall had already become a mess. Charles, a celestial dragon, had been knocked down by Luffy with a punch, and the reason for knocking him down was also very simple. He saw the precious pet hero, and wanted to snatch it away. Luffy was originally upset with him, because he bought Kami, and now he wants to snatch Hekaku away, so Luffy will naturally not be polite to him. Interesting, this year's newcomers are really brave. They dare to beat up the celestial dragons like this. It makes me itchy to do it. Beating up the celestial dragons is the dream of many people, but most people don't have the courage. But now, the opportunity has come. There are still 2 celestial dragons. Elizabeth, do you want to beat one? What do you mean? Anyway, someone has already started, so if you don't beat them up, it's a waste. The beasts have 2 traditions, one of which is to pick up children, and this tradition is still continuing. As for the other tradition, there will always be someone who inexplicably takes the blame, such as Luffy, who was chosen by Olga at this time. Chapter 959, Illusion, Sleepwalking, Acting as a Monkey, Uncle Bear. In this sea, there are many hateful characters. Pirates, bandits, mafia, scum in the navy, invasion by enemy countries. These armed forces can bring endless troubles and disasters to residents living on the island. But there is only one group of people who can make residents all over the world feel disgusted, and dare not speak out: the celestial dragons. The navy of the 4 seas has to be careful to be exposed if they want to do something. Bandits and pirates will be arrested, but the celestial dragons are different. Everything they do is legal. They have the endorsement of the world government and the backing of the entire navy, which makes people unable to provoke them at all. When seeing the celestial dragons, they either try to hide or kneel down respectfully. These are the few reactions that ordinary people can make. Even if someone beats up the celestial dragons, the reaction of the people around them is to run away, for fear of getting burned. As for the pirates of the 4 emperors, they are not afraid of the celestial dragons, but they are not interested in provoking them. Before the table is completely turned over, the 2 sides usually do not interfere with each other. Even though celestial dragons will not go to the new world to make trouble, There are still people in Mirajoa who can control these celestial dragons. Letting them provoke those sea emperors will not benefit the celestial dragons. The upper echelons of the celestial dragons still have brains. The managers of several families are considering the future, otherwise Tesoro would not be so smooth. It is very difficult to negotiate with idiots. Olga is the one who does not need to consider the consequences when going out to do things. Anyway, she has many vests. As long as it does not cause a chain reaction in the world, the cost is nothing to her. As long as the celestial dragons do not die, the most they will be beaten is to attract the admirals of the navy. Moreover, someone has already taken action first. If she beats 2 more, the result will be the same. I'm not interested, but you take it easy. It should be troublesome to kill them with 1 punch. It's okay, it's okay. Look at that fat guy, isn't he quite resistant to beating? The one wearing a straw hat punched his face and deformed it, but he didn't die. The current celestial dragons are basically too rotten to be evaluated, but their ancestors are different. They can establish a world government. The original 20 kings still have their own abilities. Luffy threw an angry punch without holding back. To him, as long as they were his partners, they were worth his all. Anyone who wanted to capture his partner was his enemy, no matter who they were. That punch would have made a big hole in the wall. Charles just lost consciousness, and his body was quite resistant to blows. A dark purple energy spread from Olga's feet to the surroundings, gradually covering the human auction house. After that, everyone in the auction house saw a scene that they could never imagine in this life. Is that guy crazy? He actually beat up 3 celestial dragons in a row. Kid in the auction house almost dropped his jaw in shock. He thought he was fearless enough, but there was still one who was still reckless. He was angry about beating up the first celestial dragon, but he couldn't understand the next 2. It doesn't make any difference. No matter if we beat 1 or 3, the result will be the same. But if we do this, the admiral will be here soon. Who cares? Let's go, Kira. We have to leave before the admiral gets here. Law did the same thing as Kid, and even the Straw Hat Pirates were confused. Luffy, why did you beat up 3 people in a row? That guy wanted to buy Kami and steal Hekaku, and I only beat up 1. The other 2 haven't made a move yet. Did you beat them up? Looking at Roswald and Cheryl with their shattered glass hoods, Luffy denied his actions. Xiaofeng, did you turn into me and beat them up? No, although I wanted to beat them up, I didn't do that, and I saw it too. It was you, Straw Hat, who beat up the 3 of them. Yeah, you just ignored us and beat them up badly. Now we should take Kami and leave. Sanji lit a cigarette and began to think about where to go next. Olga's illusion was not an illusion that affected other people's consciousness, but a real illusion that affected reality. The Straw Hat Pirates did not have the ability to distinguish this illusion. In their opinion, Luffy really beat up the 3 people. Really? Could it be that I just fell asleep? Listening to his partner's words, Luffy fell into self-doubt, and after a brief doubt, he came up with a logic that normal people could not come up with. He thought that he might have beaten up the remaining 2 celestial dragons while sleepwalking. How is that possible? XN wait. Kami is gone. The Straw Hat Pirates could not understand Luffy's logic at all, and Nami also found that Kami, who was originally placed on the auction table, had disappeared at some point. At the same time, a giant suddenly walked out of the backstage, and the scattered slaves also fled in different directions. Only Rayleigh, who had untied his collar, was attracted by Luffy's straw hat. If you want to find that mermaid, she has been rescued. Fishman Island is protected by Whitebird and has a complex connection with the beasts. You don't have to worry about the safety there. Speaking of which, that girl really made a big fuss. Hearing that Kami was rescued, the Straw Hat Pirates felt relieved and began to think about how to leave here. At the same time, because of Luffy's straw hat, they and Rayleigh had their first intersection. Compared to them, some other people were even more troubled. Marshal Sengoku, someone beat up the celestial dragons, and there are 3 of them, and even took them hostage, so we have to go out. Barusalino, don't worry, Marshal Sengoku, leave it to me. The celestial dragons were beaten, and we couldn't just ignore it, but there was Drake on the island, and we couldn't catch him too, so we needed someone with superb acting skills to deal with this problem. As the general of the headquarters, Kizaru knew Drake's mission very well, and there were also some other factors involved, which eventually made him take the initiative to take over this mission. At the same time, Kuma also followed other pacifists and Sento Maru to the Sabaody archipelago. Ryu, you are really your son, and you are as brave as you are. Let me help you again. This was his last mission with Kuma's personality. From now on, he will be offline temporarily, but before that, he will help the leader's child leave this dangerous island smoothly. When the navy began to gather towards the Sabaody archipelago, Alga had already escaped with Kami and embarked on the journey back to Onigashima. The Sabaody archipelago had nothing to do with her. Chapter 960, 3 Traitors, The Beginning of War. In Dressrosa, Doflamingo just received a call from the Sabaody archipelago. Disco, the owner of the human auction house, was crying to Doflamingo about his experience, but in response to his crying, Doflamingo just laughed. This is ridiculous. Isn't this your store? Mr. Doflamingo, where are you? Now the store's credibility is gone, and the Roswood family is involved. They will definitely cause trouble for us. You'd better settle this matter quickly. The human auction is out of date, idiot. The trend is no longer like this. Some people don't like this kind of transaction, so I'm no longer interested. Disco, this store is for you. Don't call me again. What? Are you going to abandon me in this time of crisis? Shut up. Troublesome guy. When you blame my misfortune, a new era has quietly arrived. Little Disco. I should say that we have been forcibly summoned by the Navy headquarters. Navy headquarters plus 7 warlords of the sea versus Whitebird pirates. What do you think of the future? Disco. Doflamingo hung up Disco's phone call with a smile. Human trafficking was once an important business for him, but as he got in touch with the beasts, he looked down on this business more and more. Especially the top leaders of the beasts seemed to hate this business. In order to please the beasts, almost all the slave traders were sold to Olga by Doflamingo. This is also the reason why Olga could always accurately predict the time of their appearance in the later period and then carry out fishing enforcement. This business was not completely abandoned, just because it still had some value, but it was a bit useless. Now that it was in big trouble, Doflamingo was of course happy to get rid of it. On the beach of Dressrosa, Doflamingo was wearing a vacation outfit, holding an iced juice and leisurely looking at the sea, as if imagining what the sea would look like in the future. Dover, the Navy has been waiting for 2 days. Treble came behind Doflamingo and reported the situation of the nearby Navy. I see. Aren't there still 9 days before the war? Tell them that I will leave in 2 days. By the way, send a report on the war situation to 100 Beasts. That monster will not give up such an opportunity. The future is becoming more and more interesting. Understood, Dover. At almost the same time, in the waters of Nine Snake Island, a warship had docked in the doldrums. The corpse of a Sea King was floating on the sea. The Flying Squirrel was leading his soldiers to negotiate with the Nine Snakes pirates. You are so brave to stay in this sea area. Although there are new technologies on the ship, we will be discovered if we stay for too long. But there is no way. According to the agreement between you Nine Snakes and the world government, we cannot approach the coast of Nine Snake Island within 3 kilometers. In this way, we can only wait in the center of the calm belt. But I can't wait any longer. I'm the Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters, the 7 warlords of the sea, the Pirate Queen, Boa Hancock. Come out quickly, the Navy has come to pick you up. The Flying Squirrel stood on the turret on the side of the warship, conveying the order from the Navy. But Hancock did not come out at all, and only the whispers of the women of the Nine Snakes reached the Flying Squirrel's ears. I haven't seen a living man for a long time. Yes, those men outside will run away when they see us. These Navy seem to have some strength. They have killed such a big Sea King. Still not as good as Lady Snake. Although you have verbally agreed to the call-up, you have not taken any action. This forced call-up of the 7 warlords of the sea is an order of the world government. If you refuse, the previous agreement will no longer be valid, and your title of 7 warlords of the sea will be revoked. Think about what this means. If you lose this title, you can no longer do whatever you want under the banner of the world government. Do you hear me? Boa Hancock. Are you threatening me? As compensation, I hope you will hand over all the cargo on the ship, okay? What nonsense are you talking about? Who would agree to such a request? Do you think you are a child? After listening to Hancock's words, the flying squirrel, who had been left out for a few days, was about to explode, but his soldiers immediately slapped him in the face. Sure. Quick, move all the goods out. Give them all to her. Asshole. Stop it. The soldiers with red hearts in their eyes could no longer control their behavior. Even with the restraint of the flying squirrel, they couldn't help but look at Hancock. At this time, pink light waves enveloped the entire warship, and everyone except the flying squirrel turned into stone statues. I accept your call, and will set off tomorrow. Then what are you doing? I don't like them. I will remove their petrification when we set off. After leaving the flying squirrel alone in the doldrums, Hancock returned to the 9 snakes and called Olga. Sister Olga, have you received the news of the war? I have accepted their call and will appear on the battlefield. If you need anything, remember to contact me in the New Fishman Island. Jinbei made a different choice. He did not refuse the call, but accepted the Navy's order, because all this was Tiger's intention. Brother Tay, Jinbei, you can't stop this. The fishmen finally have another safe territory. It's no good for us to refuse their call. And even if you really want to do something, you can only have the chance after you get Marineford. Tiger put down the rotom phone in his hand. It seemed that he had just sent the information. He was different from Jinbei. He respected Whitebird, but that was all. He didn't have the idea of blocking everything for Whitebird. Even Jinbei's respect for Whitebird was divided by the beasts. The nominal protection of Fishman Island came from Whitebird, but the actual benefits came from the beasts. He was also clear about this. Well, there may be new situations at that time. You should adapt to it. If there is nothing to do, there is no need to risk your life for others. I understand, Brother Tay. I'll trouble you for Fishman Island during this period. This is what I should do, isn't it? No matter what, I'm also a member of the Fishmen. Doflamingo, Jinbei, Hancock. The news from the 3 Shichibukai appeared almost simultaneously in the meeting room of Wano Country, and in this meeting room, Kaido's face was filled with unconcealed excitement. Everyone, the war is coming. Chapter 961. Don't fight with me. I'll guard the house. Whether it was Yamato and Arceus who were out, or Jack who was fighting outside, or the giant elephants who were patrolling everywhere, they had all returned to Onigashima. It was rare for the top leaders of the beasts to gather together. Even Olga, who had just left Shampoo not long ago, took Dragonite back to Onigashima in advance. Fire Fist Ace was arrested and will be publicly executed in Marineford. Whitebird will definitely go to rescue him. Times are changing again. The war between the Navy headquarters and Whitebird. What are you excited about? Whitebird might be sad, but Kaido only had excitement on his face. Even though Arceus knew that Kaido was such a person who liked to join in the fun, he still couldn't understand where his excitement was. This is a rare event. Although it has nothing to do with us directly, it is also a wonderful appetizer before the banquet. But the old guy is still the same. He knows it is a conspiracy, but for his so-called family, he will still jump into this fire pit. It seems that he will also leave. Even Kaido recognized Whitebird's strength, but Sengoku, Garp, and the 3 admirals today are all top-level masters. In Kaido's view, Whitebird is not a match for the 5 of them. The end of Whitebird has become a foregone conclusion. After 6 years, the 4 emperors of the New World will return to the Triangle era again. What do you think? This is a rare opportunity. Don't you want to join in the fun with me? There are not many opportunities to gather so many top masters and act without scruples. Kaido didn't think there was anything wrong with his idea, and even wanted to drag Arceus to join in the fun. When a strong man like him fights, it will be destructive to the surrounding terrain, especially Whitebird, who is a monster that can cause supernatural disasters. The Marine headquarters is a perfect battlefield for Kaido. If a fight breaks out there, he doesn't have to think about anything. He just needs to fight to his heart's content. Yes, he doesn't want to help Whitebird or the Navy, but simply wants to fight with those guys. Not interested. And how many people do you want to bring? Not many, I said. This is just an appetizer. Godfather, I have some news. Take a look at this first. No one dared to interrupt Arceus and Kaido's conversation. Only Yamato stood up at this time. What? Godfather, look, this is the news summarized by the Millennium Dragons before. I went to many islands along the way, but they are all worthless. Father Slate radar didn't respond at all. The only place I haven't been to is here. Yamato emphasized his work and stated that he was not playing at all, but working. Then he used Rotom to unfold the sea chart translated by Robin in front of Arceus. Look, Godfather, this is the place. Or 1,000-year-old dragon said that it saw the original stream of light fly into the center of the whirlpool. I wanted to let Steel Crow take us in to take a look, but my father suddenly called me back. This location is really interesting. Looking at the 3 institutions on the map, Arceus also understood where this special whirlpool was. The whirlpool in the mouth of the 1,000-year-old dragon was a special current controlled by the world government. They built 3 major institutions around this whirlpool, namely the Navy headquarters, Judicial Island, and the undersea prison, and use the current formed by the whirlpool to reduce the travel time. If you don't have the ability to open the door of justice, you will be trapped in this special current forever. All pirates will stay away from this place. No one wants to be surrounded by the Navy inexplicably. It just so happens that they can fight as they please. Kaido, you can do whatever you want. I'll go to this whirlpool. There may be something I need there. I see. Do you need a lot of manpower? No, a few people who can help are enough. Okay, then let's assign manpower to other areas first. Kaido's eyes swept over the many cadres under his command, and he had already made his own arrangements in his mind. Little ones. The war has come. Whitebird wants to save his son, so he won't leave many people in his territory. If he dares to go to the Navy headquarters under such circumstances, he can only go all out, and there won't be many strong men in the territory. As long as Whitebird leaves, someone will definitely attack his territory. When the news of the Navy is completely announced, these pirates will be attracted like sharks smelling blood, so we have to act first. Olga, Jack. Looking around, Kaido finally chose the 2 of them. Captain Kaido. Brother Kaido. The territory issue is now left to you 2. In addition to the personnel left behind on each island, the idle personnel and those with numbers above 2 digits will obey your command. King Yanwu and Bankira are also handed over to you. Use the fastest speed before others can react. Grab all of Whitebird's territory for me. Jack and Olga were appointed by Kaido to expand the territory. Because neither of them has the ability to fly, it is not easy to evacuate from the Navy headquarters in time. If something unexpected happens, it is better to let them use their abilities in other places. When the high-level combat forces are too busy to split themselves, Olga and Jack are invincible on the front battlefield. The only thing left for you is the defense issue. Who should I give Wano country to? Originally, he asked Arceus if he wanted to join in the fun just casually. He knew that Arceus was not interested in such things and planned to hand over the main island to him. Not being stolen is also an important part of the battle, but Arceus has his own arrangements, so he has to change people again. Brother Kaido, I'm here. Father, I'm here. The voices of Quinn and Yamato sounded one after another. In terms of guarding the house, the 2 of them rarely competed. Miss Yamato, you have to respect the elderly. I arranged the security facilities of Wano country. I'm more familiar with the mechanisms and terrain here than you. Uncle Quinn, I seem to be stronger than you. I was the one who looked after the house when my adoptive father and father were not here. And if that's the case, shouldn't you love the young? Kaido's arrangement has explained everything. Olga and Jack are responsible for expanding the territory. This is a fait accompli. Then, except for the guards, the rest will either follow Kaido or Arceus. Arceus's military force has reached its peak. All he needs is a few assistants. He will definitely not let them go. If they are not responsible for guarding the main island, they will be pulled away by Kaido. When they arrive at the chaotic battlefield, who knows what will happen. Yamato doesn't want to fight for no reason, but Quinn is more realistic. He doesn't want to be pulled out and persecuted. For his own peaceful future, competing for the position of garrison commander is his only chance. Father, Brother Kaido, just leave Wano country to me. Chapter 962, Intrigue and Deception. After all, the rules of pirates are relatively loose. One is the highest cadre of the pirate group, and the other is the future successor. For the candidate of garrison commander, Yamato and Quinn can be said to have tried their best to argue. Everyone speaks very well. In their debate, if they don't defend the house, it will be a huge loss for the beasts. There is a reason. Kaido almost laughed when he listened, but he was angry. Shut up. You two, follow me to the battlefield honestly. This kind of big scene is too rare. The Navy has not mobilized so many troops at one time. The only one that can be compared is the Battle of God Valley. You retreat at this time. What should you do with the bigger scene later? The war on the top is the largest scale war of the Navy in decades. 100,000 elite Navy drawn from all over the world. The forcibly summoned 7 warlords of the sea, the 3 admirals of the Navy headquarters, the Navy hero, and the Navy marshal. After excluding actors, paddling, fishing, etc., and not considering the damage to the surrounding environment, the Sloop can steadily eat the whitebird pirates. In other words, from the beginning, the world government has been on guard against other sea emperors, and has certain preventive measures for possible situations. Since the end of the Battle of God Valley, Kaido has also experienced many wars, and fought against powerful opponents, but this kind of battle with a large number of people has never appeared. The total number of troops in God Valley is not as good as it is now, but rocks at his peak, plus the young and middle-aged Garp and Roger. The quality of that war was not low at all, and Kaido at that time did not even have the qualifications to participate in the decisive battle. For Whitebird, he has to rescue his son, and for the Navy, they have to achieve their strategic goals and stabilize the order of the sea. But for Kaido, the war on the top is his paradise. The arrangements of others are still to be discussed, but Yamato and Quinn are typical of not wanting to escape. I object. Brother Kaido, you know what's going on with me. When we get there, do you want me to be a target? Although the bounty order still has the sign only alive, and he gained some confidence on the banana plantation island, the possibility that those guys want to kill him has always existed. It's one thing to dare to go out, but it's another to go to the enemy's base camp. Quinn, think about it from another perspective. As long as you can prove your strength, they won't let some small characters come to trouble you. Isn't this a good thing once and for all? Kaido didn't intend to let Quinn and Yamato go, but he didn't simply impose orders as a captain. Instead, he tried to persuade the two of them to take the initiative to join the war. But without the small ones, bigger ones will come. No, Quinn, you are wrong. Top level fighters like that don't have time for trivial things like assassinations. What you need to do is not to dodge, but to make them afraid to attack you. Only in this way can you get real safety. Besides, it's not that easy for them to defeat you now, is it? Kaido was trying to fool Quinn with his own logic, but Quinn always felt that something was wrong. Kaido's words made some sense, but they just didn't fit his own situation. I object too. Father, if you want to fight, can't you just go by yourself? It's the same with or without me. As long as you show enough strength in this war, I will not care about you in the future, and it doesn't matter what you do during the time you go out to play. Kaido changed his rhetoric for his daughter, and he started to make empty promises. I didn't go out to play. I was helping my foster father find something. What do you mean by forget it? It means that I won't ask you to practice in the future. You have completely graduated from my place. As long as you perform well enough, I will keep this promise. Kaido's standard is to be strong enough, but he didn't say how strong it is to be strong enough, and he reserved the final right of interpretation for this sentence. However, Yamato didn't notice this loophole. She was attracted by the generous conditions offered by Kaido, and immediately gave up her previous remarks and even started her own warm-up. I understand. When are we going to leave? Yamato showed an extremely positive look, but she had other ideas in her heart. It is not difficult to fool her at ordinary times, but this person cannot be Kaido. She didn't believe Kaido's words in the first place. Although she didn't notice Kaido's final right of interpretation, she had another idea. Anyway, my father went to fight. He would definitely not think of me if he was too excited. I just need to find a place to fish in the water. Stupid dad, don't try to fool me here. Why does my daughter feel like she's missing something in her brain? Who did she inherit it from? Kaido and Yamato's eyes crossed, and both of them showed strange smiles. The war has not yet begun, but some people have already started their own intrigues. This matter is settled. As for the defense of Wano country, you can arrange it. You are better at this than me. Kaido finally threw the arrangement of the defense work to Arceus. He really didn't know who would defend it. Zorora, Setsuna, Wano country is handed over to you and your wife. Call back the Lord of the Elephants. With it and the Gyarados outside, no matter how many fleets there are, they can't get close here. In addition, let Perona and Lamy help with the guard. You know their abilities. Even if there are fish that slip through the net, it doesn't matter. Yes, sir. The couple plus the Lord of the Elephants, it is equivalent to the entire Ming tribe being left in Wano country, which can be regarded as a special job of the allies. Ulti, page 1, you two siblings, come with me. Yes Mandafesh, the outer territories are now under your command, and the remaining single-digit numbered personnel are also under your command. As for Shaina, lend me Shaina, it won't be inconvenient to fly to the marine headquarters. Among the senior cadres, only Shaina has not been arranged yet. As for Greninja, he has never participated in external missions. He has always been responsible for the security of the Flower City, and this time is no exception. Kaido's candidate Sajin, Kun, Yamato, and his 8-headed dragon. This is the team that is scheduled to join in the fun. Seeing that Arceus has not made any arrangements for Shaina, he has also set his sights on this high-level combat force. After all, there are not many characters suitable for him to go to Marineford to cause trouble. Only those who can fly can be flexible, and those who are strong enough can protect themselves, so Kaido does not plan to take anyone else with him except the senior cadres. Shaina, do you have any opinions? No, Lord Holy Beast, if you don't need me there, I can go anywhere. That's it. There are still 9 days before the war. From now on, everyone prepare for battle. Chapter 963, False and Real Wise Generals. The personnel arrangement is over, so the next is the combat meeting. The content is not complicated. According to the information sent by the 7 warlords, the war will last less than 9 days. Whitebeard should have started to move, otherwise they would not be able to reach Marineford smoothly before the execution. We don't have to be so anxious. Jack, you set off now, and gather troops in the territory. Mandafesh, you also take people back to the territory to arrange defense. Olga, you are on standby at Onigashima now, and you can leave after we set off. War is not a fight. Kaido went to the war on the top, just to join in the fun and simply satisfy his own selfish desires. There is no need to consider any cost issues. He brought elite cadres with him. Even if he didn't take a ship, he could fly directly from the sky. But Olga and Jack's side are different. It is a battle for territory. In order to get the highest benefits from the war, timing is also an important choice. Kaido needs to estimate a specific time. It is best to have a battle here when Whitebeard and the Navy headquarters go to war. In this way, neither the Navy nor Whitebeard will have extra forces to intervene here. It is much faster to get to Whitebeard's territory from here than to the Navy headquarters, so the beasts still have plenty of time. Yes, leave it to me, Captain Kaido. No, you haven't understood what I mean. When the time comes, use your illusion to disguise the fleet and let them think that I'm the leader, not you. With your current ability, the illusion is enough to cover the entire Wano country, right? It's okay if we don't fight, but we might be exposed if we fight. That's enough. I don't want to reveal my position before I greet them. This is a big surprise. Those who go out to fight for territory are those with the later numbers, while those in the front are left to guard the homeland, because Kaido does not trust other forces, and hiding his whereabouts is also for this purpose. He went to grab Whitebeard's territory, and others could also grab his territory. This is why the later numbers went out to fight, while the front ones stayed to guard the home. It was also his strategic goal to let Olga disguise herself with illusions. Only in this way can others be cautious and pass on false information to them. I understand, Captain Kaido. I will make arrangements. There is basically nothing else to do. Go and rest and conserve your energy. You won't have a chance to rest in the next period of time. The beating of the beasts was declared over, and Jack, who had a mission, began his own actions. The entire beast was like a war machine, quietly moving in the shadows. Medicines, food, weapons, and ammunition. The past inventory played their own role, and factories in various places also began to work in 3 shifts around the clock. More and more materials needed for the war were continuously distributed to everyone. The carters also had their own actions. Quinn was frantically loading some weapons that might be used, and he was also taking time to teach Perona and Lammy to familiarize themselves with the defense facilities inside Wano. He was right before these things were arranged by him personally, and he was much more familiar with them than others. The Elephant Master also began to return to Wano country, and the Fur Tribe's musketeers, led by Setsuna and Zorora, temporarily entered a state of war. Mandafesh, who was out, had also met with Tiger and formed a joint defense line on the sea with Nereus and Manaphy. Drake also calmed down after the farewell party and prepared for the upcoming battle. It was Jin and Shaina who were relatively relaxed. On the cliff outside Wano country, Jin and Shaina discussed the topic of war. I heard that you made a mistake when you were chasing that guy before. When Jin was chasing Blackbird, Shaina was still outside with Arceus and did not return. She only read some news from the newspaper. I underestimated that guy's physique. That guy is also an alien. Normal humans will never have that kind of vitality. Coupled with that group of naval forces that got in the way, that guy escaped. Picking up the special shell, Jin put the special ceased and spike back on his hilt and began to wipe his blade. But I won't let him run away this time. The Navy headquarters forced him to be summoned. Since this guy has obtained the position of Shichibuke, he must accept the Navy's call. Do you want me to help you? You know, I have this thing. The red chain was thrown out of Shaina's hand, and it made a loud bang in the sky. No need, I'll take that guy's life myself. Really? Then you can do it yourself. I'll clear the guys who are in your way for you. In addition to Kaido's enthusiasm for the war, his subordinates are also a bunch of actors in a sense. Jin has his own goals. Quinn has also thought of life-saving measures. Yamato is thinking about how to fish, and Shaina is just following Arceus orders. But for Kaido, it doesn't matter. His only goal is to find his own fun. On the other side, Zorora also launched a gathering for Pokemon. Not only Diancie and Shemi, the leaders of the Pokemon tribes in Wano have formed a circle. Brothers and sisters, the Lord and others will leave soon, and the safety here depends on us. I don't know if there will be any strange people coming here, but it is our mission to guard this place. Roar, meow, Lotto, Beto, was. The voices of Pokemon sounded one after another, and each of them showed full confidence. Don't worry, although Quinn is a bit useless, the device he set up is quite useful, and someone coming in will definitely be discovered. It's better to be cautious. An organization that has existed for 800 years may have some unexpected things. On the sea, the most eye-catching thing is not the action of the beasts. The Navy published the news of the public execution in the newspaper. This matter has now become a well-known thing. The Whitebeard pirates, the Beasts pirates, the Big Mob pirates, the Red Hair pirates, and the New World's great pirates have their own movements. Except for Whitebeard, who will definitely come to the headquarters, no one knows what the remaining 3 people will do. As the execution date approaches, the expeditionary team has left their base and is heading towards the predetermined location, but Kaido specially found Arceus before leaving for the battlefield. You want another resurrection grass? Yeah, from the moment he set out, he was determined to die. I know this very well. After all, I have been in the same boat with him. He is a rare opponent. No matter how well he takes care of his body, he is old after all. It would be a pity to retire like this. I still want to experience the guy's peak power first, and this is the last chance. Hahaha. 2 updates today to clear my mind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 964, Only Death, All Beings Are Equal. I should have told you that this thing is called resurrection, but it is essentially healing and physical recovery. If you really die, it is useless. I remember, and you also said that this thing can only be used by the Pokemon you created, or the Pokemon ability users without modification. Anyway, it can be modified, so why not modify it more thoroughly, such as temporarily restoring the youth of that old guy? In battle, Arceus' most unsolvable ability is immunity, but his essential ability is still creation, and making changes in creation is the essence of his ability. It is possible, but why do you do this? Why? I can't explain it clearly. I hate that guy's personality, but he is one of the few opponents I think highly of. It's a pity for such a guy to die in the hands of others. Although he is only 15 years older than me, I still missed his strongest stage. It's a pity not to experience it again. Kaido rarely mentions his life on Rock's ship to others. That life was not bad for his personality. He enjoyed his own fun in fighting, and even had a close sister who didn't lose her figure at that time. For Kaido, it was also a good memory. And after this war, the pattern of the sea will change again. After Whitebird dies, I'm afraid we will become a thorn in the eyes of the world government. Tesoro will also have a headache. We have to give him away to relieve it at this time. You want to use Whitebird to lure them? That's what I mean. People are born unequal in wealth, status, and power. This leads to those trash being able to sit on the throne from birth. But no matter how strong a guy is, death is equal to them. Those cowardly guys have power, but don't have the ability to match it. They enjoy enough prosperity and are more afraid of death than ordinary people, especially those old guys who are about to die. They won't miss any opportunity. This can be seen from the financial statements submitted by Tesoro. The most healthcare drugs were given to the celestial dragons, the kings of some allied countries, and wealthy businessmen from all over the world. They are willing to spend this money to prolong their lives as much as possible. The reason why the Operation Fruit can be sold at a sky-high price of 5 billion is because of the rumored immortality operation, right? This war cannot be hidden from the world. What do you think those guys will do if they see the signs of being able to restore youth or even achieve immortality? Using Arceus' ability to restore Whitebird's youth temporarily can not only fulfill his desire to fight, but also pave the way for the future. When a company really develops a means of immortality, even if the company's background is problematic, the goal of the top management is no longer to destroy them immediately, but to get the results first. No matter what the process is, they need this result. Kaido's trip to the top is not an outing. Going there means breaking up with the world government. The core members of the Beast Fruit have already been transferred by Dragonite to prevent possible bad situations. With the efficacy of the resurrection grass, in the best case, they can reach a new agreement. Even if the situation is not ideal, the consequences will not be bad. At most, it will become a special guerrilla organization like Morgan's World Economic News Agency. Kaido thought this idea was reasonable. The worst case scenario was that Quinn would continue to be unlucky. Look, if we prepare some new tricks for Whitebird, we won't suffer any loss. Why not? Go and prepare them. I'll give them to you when the time comes. Be careful not to get Shaina and the others involved. Don't worry, I won't die. I'm not looking for death. Besides, Yamato needs to experience something cruel. After so many years, she is still so naive. This war should make her understand a lot. The day of the war on the top is getting closer and closer. The Elephant Master has arrived at the designated location, and the troops in the Beast territory have also been assembled, and began to assemble towards the designated location. As Kaido led his men to fly away, the various beasts began their own actions. Such a big movement naturally could not be hidden from others. The Navy and the world government only expressed vigilance. On the contrary, the Big Mom pirates also moved. She did not intend to miss the opportunity of Whitebird's departure, and wanted to take the opportunity to get a piece of the pie. As time passed, the scheduled time of the war at the top was getting closer and closer, and people all over the world were paying attention to the news about the war. In the South China Sea, people were in a panic on the streets. There are only a few hours left. Will Whitebird really come? Who knows, but will he really come? Even if it's Whitebird, he's already quite old. Is that so? After all, he is a survivor before the Great Pirate Era. I haven't seen his name in the big news for several years. What are you talking about? It's because he is an opponent that cannot be ignored that the Navy headquarters will summon all the elite. I think he will definitely go. An older man next to him gave his own judgment. In terms of age, He is also an old guy of the same era as Whitebird and knows more about him. What will happen if he really shows up? Who knows? In the East China Sea, the sheep were nibbling on the grass driven by the herdsman, and the people here seemed more relaxed. He was a pirate a long time ago. How could the Navy headquarters lose? Yes, no matter what kind of pirate it is impossible for him to invade Marineford. That's not necessarily true. More than 20 years ago, a pirate named Golden Lion invaded Marineford and destroyed half of the Navy headquarters. This time, it will probably be even worse. No matter who wins or loses, there will be huge casualties. It's best if Whitebird doesn't show up. I really hope that the execution can go smoothly. He is also an older man, and he is not optimistic about the outcome of the war. In the North Sea, heavy snow is falling, and several people are arguing in front of the store. Boss, bring us some wine. Go away. Who is in the mood to open a business on such a day? If the world is still there tomorrow, I will open it naturally. Then at least sell us the wine. It's so cold, and I feel like I'm on the execution platform without wine. In the West Sea, in an unknown tavern. Don't treat him as an ordinary old man. About a year ago, we just saw him sitting there and gave up hope of survival. A pirate who lost a leg recounted his experience. He was still in fear of Whitebird, and his hand holding the wine glass was shaking uncontrollably. Even if it was the Navy headquarters, that old guy wouldn't be afraid. He traveled to the world of Naruto with a hyper Zeton in an egg-laying state. Zeton is the law of the universe and a monster standing at the top of the universe. I will use the whole world as nutrients to cultivate my Zeton. I will stand at the top. Chapter 965. Indiscriminate attack from Kaido. In the first half of the Grand Line, the residents here were also extremely nervous, praying and looking forward to it, but no matter what their mood was, they all hoped that the Navy would be the final winner. For them, Whitebird's death was equivalent to a sign of peace. Under the propaganda of the world government, they firmly believed that pirates like Whitebird were the source of turmoil. Even in the nursery rhyme, Whitebird was just an evil ghost and an unstable factor in the sea. At the same time, a large number of reporters had gathered in the Sabaody archipelago, waiting for first-hand information about the war. However, the most nervous were the Navy soldiers of Marineford. This was the first time, since the Great Pirate era, that the Navy headquarters had truly launched a full-scale war against the Emperor of the Sea. The civilians of Marineford had been evacuated, and the square was filled with densely packed Navy soldiers. There was a little noise in the order. Even though they were elites from all over the world, they could not help but feel nervous. As the three admirals appeared in front of the execution platform, the Navy soldiers felt more confident, and only the 7 warlords did not know what they were thinking. Bear had completed all the transformations at this time, and became an emotionless pacifist. Standing in place as a war robot, Hawkeye waited for the appearance of the world's strongest man. Hancock was the most bored. I don't know what Sister Olga is doing. These men are disgusting to look at. Snake Princess, you said what was in your heart. Shut up. Of course I know, but I don't care about this kind of thing. Jinbei, don't think that you can talk to me casually, just because you have that kind of relationship. Although it's not that disgusting, you are also a man. Hancock was standing at the edge at this time, because she didn't want to get too close to those men. Jinbei had dealt with Hancock several times, because of the new Fishman Island, so she could only accept it slightly. Seeing that Hancock didn't intend to talk to him, Jinbei also sat down cross-legged. He was just confused about this war, so he wanted to find someone to talk to. Hey, don't be so aggressive. Everyone must have their own purpose for coming here, right? Of course, there will definitely be many powerful shadows born here, and more powerful people will die. The bodies of the dead and the shadows of the living, these are what I want. Doflamingo hinted at something, but Moria, who had been hiding in the Devil's Triangle as a Rotoku, did not understand the meaning of his words, but took the initiative to talk to him. Doflamingo did not care, and continued to talk to himself. Speaking of which, where is the guy who replaced that crocodile bastard? It was agreed to be a forced conscription, so why are there only 6 of us? There were only a few hours left before the departure time, but Blackbeard was still nowhere to be seen. Doflamingo remembered that he had seen him in Mirajoa before. If Blackbeard escaped from the battlefield, he would be really disappointed. Doflamingo's chat did not continue, and Sengoku's speech quickly interrupted their whispers. With the announcement of the news that Ace's father was Roger, the sea ushered in the first wave of shock. On the eve of the execution, Whitebeard's fleet successfully entered the bay. Before that, the Navy had already lost the movement of the Whitebeard pirates. The surveillance ship would sink as soon as it was sent out, so Sengoku could only choose to wait. The war came as expected, and all plans were still being carried out according to Sengoku's plan at this time. The biggest change began to change with the appearance of Little Oz. This time he came to rescue Ace, because he obeyed Whitebeard's order to rescue his good brother. As a descendant of Oz, Little Oz's character can be regarded as simple and honest, and he gets along well with Ace, but he is not as desperate as in the original worldline. Ace did not go to Wano country, nor did he learn how to weave a bamboo hat from the braiding village. Without the relationship of giving hats, the intimacy between the two sides was slightly worse. But this is a bigger trouble for the Navy. The role played by Little Oz, who didn't listen to Whitebeard's dissuasion after getting angry, and Little Oz, who followed Whitebeard's arrangement and advanced in an orderly manner, is completely different. As the war began, the behavior of the actors gradually manifested itself. So far, the 6 Shichibuke have only swung a sword, and there has been no other performance. If it weren't for the fear of going too far, Jinbei probably wouldn't have planned to stand up. A large number of pirates successfully broke into the bay with the cover of Oz, and the Navy's plan began to start. The iron wall built by the Navy some time ago was successfully raised. Without Little Oz's body, the encirclement that had a gap was completely filled. In contrast, Squad, who was fooled by a canoe, was unable to stab Whitebeard in the back. His relatively healthy body allowed Whitebeard to block the sword with his domineering power. Even if you are a foolish son, I still love you, Squad. You can decide whether to trust me or the Navy. Whitebeard did not vent his anger on Squad. Judging from the current situation, the Whitebeard pirates could not break through the Navy's encirclement wall. Whitebeard was about to take action himself, but just as he jumped off the Moby Dick, a change came from the sky. A stream of light passed through the sky and directly crossed the Navy's encirclement wall, leaving a deep gully on the square, and a human-shaped pit appeared at the end. If the stream of light is not eye-catching enough, then the giant dragon hovering in the clouds is completely different. Flame clouds entangled his limbs. At this time, Kaido had left the body of the 8-headed dragon, grabbed the flame cloud, and poked his head out of the cloud, looking at the battlefield below with a fanatical face. Newgate, you are still the same. You can tolerate even stupid subordinates to this extent. Kaido, who suddenly appeared in the sky, seemed to disrupt everyone's thinking. Even the battlefield of fighting had a brief pause. Both Whitebeard and Sengoku were very wary of this figure in the sky. No one knew what this madman was doing. What a luxurious war. Let me add more fuel to the fire. Hot breath. The blazing flame spewed out of Kaido's mouth. As his dragon head swung, the flame moved straight from the ice surface to the direction of the execution platform. Whether it was the pirates of the Whitebeard pirates or the defenders of the Navy headquarters, they were all included in Kaido's attack range. And the final landing point of his attack was the deep pit that was smashed by the UFO before. The indiscriminate attack made everyone present think he was a madman, but the next moment, they found that they still underestimated Kaido. Damn dad. Is this what you call a cool debut? Is there anyone you arrange like this? Cough, cough, cough. With bursts of coughing, Yamato climbed out of the deep pit, ignoring the Navy soldiers around him, pointing angrily at Kaido in the sky. It's still a 2 update day, tomorrow will be normal. Chapter 966, The 7 Warlords of the Sea's Fake Match Group. The encirclement wall has been breached by pirates. The first to come to their senses were the soldiers inside the encirclement wall. It was not their job to see the whole situation. The enemy in front of them was what they should face. Before, the Whitebeard pirates were blocked outside the encirclement wall. The Navy inside had not yet faced the war, but they were also tense. The Yamato thrown by Kaido was their tense nerves. As the elite of the Navy drawn from all over the world, they did not panic, but quickly organized themselves and launched their own attack towards Yamato's position. Attack. Don't let the pirates reach the execution platform. Yamato, who had just climbed out of the pit, was instantly covered by fire, which made her already not very good mood even more irritable. Ever since Robin told her that it would be better if she didn't speak when she appeared in Alabasta, Yamato has been studying her appearance posture. Even with Kaido's pie, Yamato is ready to fish well, so she wants to find a handsome but inconspicuous appearance. Only in this way can she achieve her future goals. However, Kaido predicted Yamato's thoughts. In order to prevent Yamato from slacking off, he lied to her again and told her that he had a classic combination to appear, but he just needed Yamato to cooperate. Under Kaido's deception, Yamato finally fell into the trap. If she didn't cooperate, Kaido couldn't throw her out lightly. Yamato thought that this might be a trap, but she underestimated Kaido after all. She thought that, no matter how abnormal Kaido was, he would not do outrageous behavior on the battlefield, which eventually led to this slightly tragic situation. And this is exactly what Kaido wanted. He didn't believe it, and threw Yamato into the crowd. She still had a chance to slack off. Get out of here. And smashed the ground, and the pit that was originally smashed by her collapsed completely, and the shockwave also knocked the approaching navy to the ground. Even if it was the elite from all over the world, Yamato's opponents at this stage were beyond their response range. The generals with higher ranks had not taken action yet, but the 7 warlords who had been slacking off started to move instead. Get out of my way. Prisoner Arrow. With a touch of her finger on her lips, a pink heart-shaped bubble appeared in Hancock's hand. With a slight pull of her other hand, the pink bubble turned into a rain of arrows, shooting towards Yamato. The Shichibuke have taken action. Finally, those bastards are really patient. The navy was somewhat dissatisfied with the Shichibuke's behavior of slacking off, but there was nothing they could do. Now that the white-bat pirates were trapped on the ice and had not broken through to the square, it was reasonable for the Shichibuke to choose to wait and see and prepare to deal with stronger people. But after the attack, they found the problem. Hancock might as well not move. Those hit by her prisoner arrow turned into stone statues, but this was the navy's hinterland. The airflow generated by Yamato's swing of the stick deflected Hancock's arrows, which resulted in all the navy being petrified. Pirate Queen. What are you doing? I'm fighting according to your request. The enemy is too strong and has neutralized my moves. What does it have to do with me? I believe you can forgive my accidental injury, right? Hancock stroked her hair with one hand without even turning back, and the navy who questioned her had already turned into a dog-licking expression and began to respond to Hancock's words. Hancock also came to Yamato after this and started her own performance. It seemed that she was fighting fiercely, but she didn't use any strength at all. Long time no see, Yamato. Oh, it's Hancock. Your attacks are still so interesting. Is it interesting? Is Sister Olga here too? No, she went somewhere else. My bastard father said that Sister Olga's abilities are more suitable for other places. That's a pity. Do you want to continue? I don't want to work for those navy men. Among the 7 Shichibuke, Blackbeard is now looking for suitable subordinates in Impel Down. Among the remaining 6, only Kuma is fighting hard because he has no independent consciousness. Other than that, the rest are looking for a suitable place to slack off, and no one is fighting hard. The navy can summon the Shichibuke, but it can't force them to fight to the death. The performance of the Shichibuke in the Battle of Marineford may have some impact on the abolition of the Shichibuke system 2 years later. The Seraphim who obey orders are much more useful than these ambitious people. Well, let's fight a few times first. It's too long, and it's hard to fool that father. Yamato wants to delay time. As long as she delays until Kaido fights with others, she can slack off wantonly. The aftermath caused by the two made it impossible for the surrounding navy to get close, so they had to disperse in all directions, not knowing that the 2 people inside were playing a fake match. Get out of the way. The navy soldiers were watching the place where Yamato and Hancock were fighting warily, but Jinbei suddenly came over and stretched out his hand to push away the navy blocking in front of him. See Knight Jinbei. That woman is a pirate of the beasts. It's not easy to deal with. I'll go and help her. Brother Tiger, I understand what you mean by playing it by ear. If you want to find the most honest one among the 6 Shichibuke present, then Jinbei can even compete with the bear that has turned into a robot. He was too honest and was just a decoration just now. But Kaido's indiscriminate attack and Hancock's attack on his friends gave him a new idea. Standing there is not okay, but it is inevitable to accidentally hurt someone during the attack. Fishman Karate already has many group damage skills. In order to help the Navy deal with the big guys of the beasts, it is reasonable for him to accidentally hurt a few Navy people. This can more or less reduce a lot of pressure on Whitebeard's people. Fishman Karate, Karasawa Zenquin. The blue fat man jumped high and punched the ground. This punch showed how deep Jinbo's attainments in Fishman Karate were. The two people in the middle of the punch were unharmed, but the surrounding Navy was blown away again by the shockwave. The encirclement closest to here was also affected, and there was a vacuum period for ammunition supply in the rear, allowing the pirates outside to find a suitable breakthrough again. The two Shichibuke and Yamato had a very happy fake match, but another Shichibuke also moved at the same time. Moria left his original position and moved towards where Kaido was. Along the way, whether it was the Navy or the pirates, they were all caught and cut off by him. Kaido has been his nightmare for many years. He has been awakened by nightmares countless times, and he has imagined what it would be like to see Kaido again countless times. But until Kaido appeared in front of him again, he realized that his emotion towards Kaido was not fear, but anger. Chapter 967 New Gate, you are still old. Kaido the Beast. What on earth is this guy going to do? On the execution platform, a few drops of cold sweat flowed down Sengoku's forehead. Kaido's appearance was reasonable, but also unexpected. In Sengoku's view, Kaido and Whitebeard had no friendship, and there was no reason for him to rescue Whitebeard. With this time, he might as well occupy Whitebeard's territory. Except for Yamato, who had already rushed into the interior, Kaido did not carry out subsequent attacks after the heat breath. He seemed to be looking at something, and finally turned into a human beast form, and fell towards the Moby Dick. Damn it, did they really reach a pirate alliance? That red hair. According to the speculation of the five elders, it was Red Hair who secretly led a powerful pirate alliance. If all this is true, then the Red Hair who still hasn't shown up is the biggest problem. Garp, do you understand what I mean? Sengoku didn't understand why the five elders insisted that Garp appear on this battlefield. Although Garp's identity was a naval hero, his absence would affect morale, but Garp's appearance here would also cause a lot of trouble. This meant that he had to watch Garp. The person to be executed was his adopted grandson. If Garp did something irrational, it would be troublesome. The Admiral of the Navy was held back by the Navy hero, and he had to take his colleagues into consideration when he took action. No one would believe this. If there was no Kaido, Garp's slacking off would not have affected anything, but Kaido's appearance had already broken some of the balance, not to mention that he did not come alone. Kaido and his daughter and subordinates, the total bounty on these people has exceeded 10 billion. I know, I won't watch if it really comes to that. Garp still had no intention of standing up. If these people were also here to save Ace, he would probably laugh out loud in his heart. Unless the incident escalated further, he would not be able to devote himself to this war. The distance was far, and Sengoku could not see what was happening on the battlefield over there on Yamato's side. There was a lot of noise over there, and he could not be sure for a while whether they were faking the match. However, Kaido's next move once again confused everyone. He turned into a human beast form in the sky, and thunder was ringing around the eight fasts. The domineering aura of the domineering color sounded like thunder in the sky. Long time no see, New Gate, let me see if your skills have regressed. Great power, Thunder Bagua. Kaido held the stick with both hands and smashed it at Whitebeard below. There was no trial, no holding back, and the first shot was a full strength attack from Kaido, but he did not use any gain type skills, simply relying on his current physique. Get out of the way, Squad. Looking at Kaido above, Whitebeard kicked Squad behind him. This was not because he was resentful, but because Squad could not bear the aftermath of this battle. If left alone, Squad might even be directly killed by the aftermath of the collision between Whitebeard and Kaido. Although they have not yet fought, the power of the strong domineering color in Kaido's hand has already been revealed. The power of vibration enveloped the blade of Kusakomukuri, and the power of domineering also extended from Whitebeard's body to the blade. The weapons had not yet collided, but the collision of domineering had already begun. "Don't get in the way, Kaido." Boom! Exclamation mark. The hull of Moby Dick shook violently, and the sea surface that was previously frozen by Kuzen was cracked under this huge impact. Although Whitebird stabilized his body, he still took a few steps back. "Newgate, you have retreated. A few years ago, you were strong enough to take this blow. I'm not in the mood to fight with you now, Kaido kid. Although our relationship is not very good, you and I are both pirates. The Navy should be the enemy, right?" Whitebird did not want to fight with Kaido at all. If he really fought with Kaido, he would not be able to be distracted to rescue Ace. Without him, the pirates under his command would definitely not be able to rescue Ace. "We were on the same ship before. Why don't we join forces to deal with the Navy first?" Whitebird will not let go of any fighting force that can be won over. The previous hot breath caused considerable casualties to both sides. But if Kaido is really willing to join forces with him, the success rate of the battle will be greatly improved. "Not interested. I'm just here to participate in this battle, whether it's you or the Navy. I just want to find a strong enough enemy. There are not many people on this sea that I can look up to." Several wind blades flew out of Kaido's hands, and Kaido followed closely and hit Whitebird. The fish fruit blue dragon form has the power of flying, but Whitebird does not. It is difficult to use the power on the ship, so he had to fall to the ground. The battle is inevitable, but Whitebird has no intention of fighting head on. Instead, he rushed to the place where there are more Navy, using Kaido's power to cause considerable trouble to the Navy. The Navy did not have a senior general to stop all this. After all, the impact of their aftermath is limited. If Kaido and Whitebird really fight each other here, that would be the best result. When they are both injured, it will be the Navy's chance to take them down in one fell swoop. Edward Newgate, what are you doing? Is this your attitude towards fighting? Kaido, I'm old, and I've never had any interest in titles like the strongest. If you want it, just take it. But I don't have time to waste with you now. I have to go save my son. Newgate, you are still so naive, always recruiting such a weak son. What are you talking about? Isn't this the truth? Your son is too weak, that's why he fell into the hands of the Navy. Look at my daughter, even if she was thrown into the middle of the Navy, she is still alive and kicking. If your son is so strong, you don't have to think about so many things. There was a sense of showing off in Kaido's words, which made Whitebird unable to find a reason to refute. But this is you, Newgate. The strongest man in the world still lost to time. You are not interesting. Since you care about your son so much, how about I give you a chance? What do you want to do? Fight me with all your strength. It's a fight to the death. This is the headquarters of the Navy. No matter how the fight goes, it will not affect our territory. I don't have the time or the mood. Yes, what you lack is time, but I can give you the power of youth. This is your last stage. Don't you want to let the world see what a young Whitebird looks like? Kaido took out a wooden box from his coat and threw it at Whitebird in front of him. Eat it, you will experience the power of youth. Then do your thing and fight me with all your strength. Newgate, you still have this courage. If you don't even dare to do this, then I've made a mistake. Chapter 968 Young Whitebird, Unexpected Tsunami. The thrown wooden box was caught steadily in Whitebird's hand, and at the moment of contact, the outer box shattered under the influence of the vibration, leaving only a green blade of grass. This is what you used to restore your strength? You have a good memory, but this is specially made. Newgate, don't say I don't remember the old times. I still remember what it was like when you invited me to Rock's ship. Since then, I have wanted to fight you thoroughly, but the 15-year age gap has a huge impact. Go save your weak son, and then fight with me to your heart's content. Compared to dying in a hospital bed, this kind of ending is more suitable for you. You are really a lunatic. Do you really want to be my gravidigger? Do you think the Navy will watch you and me fighting here? No, although I hate others to interfere in my battles, it is not unacceptable to have a few more powerful enemies. Gilila, you will regret it. I'm Whitebird. Whitebird threw the grass leaf into his mouth, not caring whether this thing would have a strong side effect. Marineford was the place he chose to retire. As long as he could save his son, he didn't care about what happened next. And Kaido would not degenerate to the point of poisoning himself. Bang! Bang! As the blades of grass disappeared into Whitebird's mouth, his heart began to beat vigorously, the blood in his body began to flow faster, and bursts of white steam emanated from his body. His dry skin regained its elasticity, the wrinkles on his face were gradually smoothed, and the old pupils also had the brilliance unique to young people. Gilila, this feeling has really been a long time since I last saw it. Guys, get out of the way, don't get close to my straight line. Dad has actually become younger. Is this still Dad? Yes, it's Dad. Dad was like this when I first joined the pirates. Whitebird's return to youth boosted the morale of the Whitebird pirates, but everyone chose to follow Whitebird's arrangement and evacuate to both sides. They all knew how terrifying Whitebird was when he was at full strength. In the sky, Marco, who was paddling with Kizaru, was kicked onto the ice by Kizaru without noticing, and the self-healing flame began to heal his injured body. No one expected the changes in Whitebird. Even Kizaru forgot that he was just paddling. Otherwise, he would not have triggered the passive ability of Marco. Rubbing his eyes, Marco could not believe what happened. This was no longer something that could be described as a medical miracle. This is a miracle. Damn it, what on earth is going on? Sengoku on the execution platform did not know how to evaluate what happened at this time. The emotion called rationality in his mind had completely collapsed. From the moment Kaido appeared, he was speculating on the possible ending, but he did not expect it to be like this. The damage caused by the restored youth of Whitebird to the Navy headquarters would be devastating. Only the old people who have experienced that era know how terrifying the young Whitebird is. Arsehole, why is the live broadcast still going on? Cut it off immediately. At this time, Sengoku discovered that the live broadcast was still going on. Since the previous actions of the Navy were all going smoothly, in order to show that the Navy had enough power to protect the sea, the live broadcast was not cut off immediately. But with the reappearance of the young Whitebird, Sengoku knew that the next battle would become more brutal, and immediately ordered the Navy to cut off the live broadcast signal of Marineford. But he was still a step too late. The rejuvenated Whitebird had become the latest headline in the newspaper. Here, youth. It is really a terrifying power. Monsters all over the world will be crazy about it. Even those guys who hide in the dark corners and control the world can't resist this temptation. Doflamingo's expression also became excited. The power of youth is something he also wants to get. At first, his goal was the immortality surgery brought by the surgery fruit, but now he seems to have a new goal. Here, fight. This war has become more interesting. With his hands clenched, countless parasitic threads were released from his hands. The surrounding Navy and pirates were like puppets, fighting to the death under Doflamingo's control. At the same time, a cigar suddenly fell on the ice. In this battlefield full of gunfire, no one noticed the cigar, but looking up along the trajectory of the cigar falling, you can see Quinn with a pale face. Something similar to souls could be vaguely seen floating behind Quinn, and it took a long time for them to re-enter Quinn's body. What do you think if I run back now? Quinn's heart ached. He couldn't accept what was happening in front of him. If the news of Whitebird's rejuvenation spread, he would have a hard time. The Holy Beast and Mr. Kaido are not in Wano country. It's useless for you to run back. Yes, Shaina is right, and don't think you are so omnipotent. In most cases, you are just a useless person who drags you down. This is the first time in so many years that I hope I'm really a useless person. You two don't know anything at all. Quinn didn't even have the interest to refute Shaina and Jin's words. He was thinking about a very serious question, whether all the security facilities in Wano country should be replaced with lethal weapons. The current strength felt a little insufficient. But speaking of it, it's a good thing that I used someone else's name when I was dealing with the platinum lead disease. Otherwise it would be really troublesome. Considering that when the problem of platinum lead disease was made public before, the beast fruit had fabricated a large medical team, which was one of the few good news for Quinn. Where did Blackbird go? Did he escape from the battlefield? Shaina and Jin didn't care about Quinn's future. Instead, they searched for Blackbird on the battlefield, but they didn't find anything. While the two of them were still looking for Blackbird, Marineford had another huge change. Whitebeard's arm muscles bulged, and he was about to break the siege wall of the navy in front of him, but he found a ferocious friction sound coming from under the ice, and the inner bay frozen by Aokiji began to shake, as if something was about to rush out from under the ice. Near the direction of the Gate of Justice, a giant tsunami appeared in everyone's sight. The scale of that tsunami was even more terrifying than that tsunami caused by Whitebeard's previous earthquake. The huge waves that seemed to destroy the world were rushing towards Marineford. Go to sleep. Good night. Chapter 969. The slacking off behavior was disrupted. What's going on? Did Dad show off his power again? No, it's not Dad. Dad didn't do anything just now. Was it a natural disaster? The tsunami caused by the seaquake at the beginning of Whitebeard's battle was enough to submerge the entire Marineford, and it was only with Kuzen's ability that the impact of that tsunami was eliminated. After that, Whitebeard did not launch a similar attack. Kuzen's ability was one aspect, and on the other hand, Whitebeard's subordinates had already started landing operations. If they continued to cause large-scale seaquakes, the members of the Whitebeard pirates would also suffer heavy casualties. This is also the disadvantage of the tremor fruit. Although it has unparalleled destructive power, the aftermath of the vibration also has a great impact on friendly forces. Although the tsunami created by Whitebeard has destructive power, it is nothing compared to this new round of tsunamis. Jin and Shaina flew to the sky at the same time, intending to avoid the impact of the tsunami. This direction. Is the holy beast angry? No, if the holy beast is really angry, the impact will not be so ordinary. This is more like the aftermath. And according to the holy beast, he will return to Wano country after getting his things. He has no intention of interfering with Mr. Kaido's affairs. Neither of them was affected by the wave. The tsunami looked terrifying, but it did not threaten them at all. Kaido specially selected senior officers who could fly to deal with similar emergencies. As long as they could fly to the waves, no matter how big that tsunami was, it would not threaten them. Although there were many people below, they were either Navy or Whitebeard's men. Facing these non-friendly units, they would not worry. Whether it was Jin or Shaina, they were all people who walked out of the sea of blood and corpses. No matter how many irrelevant people died, their emotions would not fluctuate. They wanted to know what happened to Arceus. That's right. The power of the holy beast is far more than that. Wait, is there something on the wave? Jin knew very well that Arceus had the power to destroy a country with a wave of his hand. If he was really angry, he would not use an inefficient attack like a tsunami. He wanted to see how the navy would deal with the tsunami, but he saw something strange floating on the waves. It's a ship, right? It's not surprising that such a big tsunami would roll up a ship. It looks like a warship outside Marineford. It's a warship, but it seems to be full of prisoners, right? How could there be a warship full of prisoners in this place? I don't know, but I know that Mr. Kaido probably wants more fun. By the way, where is Quinn? Shaina looked around and didn't see Quinn. It stands to reason that they are all in their 40s and know how to face danger, so Jin and Shaina ignored him and just raised their altitude. With Quinn's personality, he would never put himself in danger unless someone touched his banana or a mace was placed on his head. Quinn. Oh, there, still alive and kicking. Following the direction of Jin's finger, Shaina saw Quinn, who was in an air battle with two dragons. He looked no different from an ordinary western dragon, and was much smaller than the 8-headed dragon, but he was equipped with a laser cannon on his back, just like the pacifist. Behind them were small creatures like two-legged dragons, with ordinary miniature machine guns mounted on their bodies. Like the pacifist, they were all masterpieces of the Navy's scientific forces. They were creatures that were originally reproduced, based on the bloodline factors of the 8-headed dragon. After several years of cultivation, they finally formed such an air force. They were special forces hidden above the clouds according to the arrangement of the warring states, waiting for the order to attack. However, the war below was progressing very smoothly, so the warring states temporarily suspended the attack of this force, intending to pursue the pirates when they completely fled. As a result, Kaido intervened, and then there was this huge tsunami. Before they could react, Quinn plunged into their midst again, which eventually led to the current situation of air combat. Come on. Let Master Quinn see what you pirates are capable of. You two stay away. I will personally deal with these guys who stole my achievements. Quinn was also pouring out his firepower, and even asked Shaina and Jin not to interfere with his battle, which was unusual. Is this guy crazy? He really thinks this is his own achievement? In Shaina's view, Quinn is already a contradictory creature. He fears the danger brought by the black pot, but at the same time he enjoys the glory brought by the black pot. In the eyes of outsiders, this is Quinn seeing through the origin of the Navy Dragon Force and defending his own achievements. But as the highest carders, Shaina and Jin know exactly how much Quinn weighs. No, this guy is looking for excuses for himself, so that he doesn't have to intervene in two dangerous battles. Those things account for at most 30% of his firepower. Shaina simply attacks Quinn physically when she is in a bad mood, but Jin is different. He likes to give Quinn a double blow mentally and physically, so he understands Quinn's thoughts very well. From his actions, we can guess that it is almost certain. In fact, just as Jin thought, Quinn is looking for a reasonable reason to slack off. He is different from Jin and Shaina. As Lunarians, they are stronger and more valued by Arceus. Even if he does nothing in the war, it will be fine when he returns. Yamato has been thrown into the crowd by Kaido now. Kaido has no time to take care of her for a while, so he is the one in danger. In order not to be targeted by Kaido and forcibly assigned to a difficult opponent, Quinn decided to find a group of guys who look powerful, but have no real skills to fight. Originally, he chose the giant vice admirals below. This is the easiest enemy to deal with in his eyes. However, in the process of avoiding that tsunami, Quinn had a new idea and started his own air battle with these air forces. Quinn hopes to slack off until the end of the battle and then return to Wano country intact, but accidents always happen. When he was fighting these pirated copies in a friendly manner, the genuine copies came. Roar. With a roar, the idle 8-headed dragon in the sky rushed towards the flying dragon army, breaking their formation with just one encounter, and then the 8 heads came out together and directly bit off the neck of a large flying dragon. Roar. After that, the 8-headed dragon looked at Quinn in confusion, and the meaning of the roar was very clear. How can such a weak guy chase you? Right square bracket. Chapter 970. The siege wall was breached. Execution proposal. This is a test. It's a test. You don't understand. Get out of the way. I'll take care of these guys. Quinn already had a pretty good idea of what the Navy's flying dragon unit was. The dragon scales of those flying dragons were enough to resist ordinary guns and cannons, which was difficult for ordinary pirates to deal with, but it was a piece of cake for Quinn. Not to mention his sunlight flames and laser cannons, energy balls or the missiles he had modified before were enough to break the defenses of these flying dragons, but he didn't use them at all, and even deliberately missed them, just to delay it a little longer. These flying dragons seemed to Quinn to be just for show, but they were very intimidating, and the attacks they launched were also scary, which was originally a good tool for slacking off. He also wanted to find a Shichibuke to slack off, but Yamato was slacking off with two Shichibuke, so it was barely acceptable. The only one left among the Shichibuke who could slack off was Doflamingo. If he entangled with Doflamingo under Kaido's nose for a long time and couldn't decide the winner, he would definitely have to undergo special training. In the sky far away from Kaido, he could at least relax a little. At this moment, the flying dragon whose neck was bitten off by the 8-headed dragon also completed its regeneration. The speed was much slower than the original 8-headed dragon, but it finally broke through the upper limit of ordinary creatures. At this time, a laser just hit it. Look, it's not dead at all. Although you always fight with Brother Kaido, you still have a lot to learn. Go find those giants to play with. Let me handle this. If it doesn't work, do you see that big green guy? That guy is the descendant of the demon. You can go find him to play. Quinn tried to let the 8-headed dragon change the battlefield so that he could continue to fish, but he failed. It's not that the 8-headed dragon is hard to fool, but it has learned some bad habits from Kaido, such as snatching the opponents it wants. In its opinion, these flying dragons are much more interesting than those giants. Ignoring Quinn's words, the 8-headed dragon rushed towards the flying dragon troops in the sky, directly killing Quinn's plan in the bud. Damn it, it won't even let me live in peace. I should have gone down before Miss Yamato. Yamato had already taken the spot in the best actor group, which made Quinn lose the opportunity to perform. Looking at Yamato, who was still paddling, he suddenly felt a little envious. Forget it, I'll find a few vice admirals to play with when the time comes. I hope those guys can cooperate a little. Looking at that tsunami that was rushing towards Marineford, Quinn began to plan his next move. Shaina and Jin were looking for clues that might be related to Blackbird. The battle below did not stop because of the sudden tsunami, but became more intense. Little guys, use that tsunami to break through the encirclement. Us, get ready. Whitebird's full-bodied voice spread across most of the square. In the case of inconvenient use of Denden Mushi, fighting with voice became the best way to communicate. The tsunami is a crisis, but also an opportunity. For the current Marineford, the tsunami is not the biggest crisis, because Kuzan is still serving as his admiral of the navy. With this freezing ability, he can still limit the surrounding seawater. But before he froze that tsunami, Whitebird was able to take advantage of it. Whitebird punched the ice, and the frozen sea surface cracked inch by inch. At this time, the impact of the tsunami had reached the range, and the originally calm seawater rushed towards the top of the square under the tsunami. In the seawater, a coated pirate ship rushed out. This was the trump card left by Whitebird. From the beginning, he kept a surprise force under the sea. With the huge waves formed by the tsunami, the ship successfully crossed the Navy's encirclement wall. Although Kuzan froze the waves in time, the pirate ship still reached the encirclement wall with the assistance of Oz. There was no way around it. The frozen waves would provide the pirates with an opportunity to break through the encirclement wall. If they didn't do this, the huge tsunami would be enough to wipe out the navy below the rank of Major General. Due to its own weight, the ice layer that only froze the stern did not restrict the pirate ship, but instead made it fall down and lean against the Navy's encirclement wall on the ground, giving the pirates of the Whitebird pirates a suitable foothold. A breakthrough has appeared. Brothers, go. Rescue Ace. The Navy's encirclement wall was originally a vertical barrier, but with the help of the ice and the pirate ship, a small hill has formed here, giving the pirates a chance to break through. At this time, Deuce is no longer a member of the Spade Pirates, but has joined the Whitebird Pirates with Ace, and is leading the pirates of the second squad to rush to the front. It is not realistic to want to jump off the tall steel directly. The previous pirate ship has become the only passage at this time, which naturally makes the artillery fire from the rear of the Navy aim here. The captains of Whitebird are intercepting the shells at this time to reserve a passage for the subsequent pirates. But when they climbed up the encirclement wall along the ice, they saw only a dazzling flash. Hey, I can't let you go like this, Yasakani no Magatama. Flash Kid, get out of my way. Yasakani no Magatama was interrupted as soon as it was released, and the terrifying shockwave forced Kizaru to avoid Whitebird's attack first. But just as he pulled away, Whitebird appeared in front of him again. Yashika Mirror. After continuous refraction, Kizaru escaped from Whitebird's attack range, and his expression of playfulness was less. Is this the young Whitebird? Gilila, this is a long-lost power. Sengoku. Hand over my son. Boom. Whitebird punched in the air, and the ice layer in front was shattered by Whitebird's attack. A huge ice ball with a diameter of more than 10 meters fell like raindrops towards the navy below. Calm down. On the execution platform, Sengoku's figure gradually became larger, and a golden shockwave was hit from the palm of the Buddha like Sengoku, turning the ice and the air into powder. It's just the young Whitebird. When he was young, he couldn't destroy the Navy headquarters. Don't even think about it now. Concentrate firepower. They only have one way. Kizaru was in a stalemate with Whitebird, and Garp was still in a state of entanglement. Aokiji's ability was not suitable for dealing with ice, so Sengoku took action to clean up those ice cubes. As Sengoku became more powerful, the morale of the Navy was rekindled, and a new round of competition with the Whitebird pirates began. Marshal Sengoku, the time is almost up. The Whitebird pirates are already surrounded. I suggest that Ace of the Fire Fist be executed immediately. Akaina's voice came from the side. He had just dealt with the deserter problem, and he put forward his own opinions in the face of the current battle situation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 971. Who are you? Just now, Akainu was not on the front battlefield, but went to rectify the discipline. In a 100,000 man army, it is inevitable that some people will retreat, but on the battlefield, without the order of the superiors, retreat and escape are not allowed. One person's cowardly escape may trigger a chain reaction and eventually lead to the collapse of the defense line. The rejuvenated Whitebird, the unexpected Kaido, the destructive power of earthquakes and heat breath broke the psychological defenses of many soldiers. They wanted to slip away when the battlefield situation was chaotic, but Akainu caught two typical ones. After killing the chicken to scare the monkey, the deserters who were observing in the dark returned to the battlefield, and Akainu himself returned with him, and put forward his own suggestions before joining the battle. The significance of Ace's existence to the Navy is to attract the arrival of the Whitebird pirates. At this time, the Whitebird pirates have entered the encirclement. The subsequent battle has nothing to do with Ace, but a comparison of the military strength between the Navy headquarters and Whitebird. In order to prevent unexpected complications, Akainu believes that Ace should be executed immediately at this time, so that the possibility of Ace being rescued can be eliminated, and the loss of bait will not be caused. It's not time yet, Sakazuki. Does the Navy need to talk about morality with pirates? Killing him now will make Whitebird crazy. If he destroys crazily without considering the consequences, the Navy headquarters cannot afford the consequences. Whitebird and Kaido are the main problems. I know. I will go deal with Whitebird with Borsalino first. Looking at Garb, who was silent, but clenched his fists, Sakazuki didn't say anything else, but directly entered the front battlefield. He wanted to see what Sengoku could say after encircling and suppressing Whitebird. The power of youth is really good. I've also found something to do. Whitebird will not fight him properly unless he achieves his goal. Although he can help Whitebird, Kaido has no such idea at all. He will not miss the opportunity to use Whitebird to consume the Navy. Kaido was a little interested in the Buddha like Sengoku, and he couldn't stand Yamato slacking off. He picked up the wine gourd on his waist and drank the strong liquor inside. Just when Kaido was about to make a move, he was suddenly stared at by a big man. Kaido, die. A pale arm slapped Kaido. It was Moria, who had walked towards Kaido before. His figure was unprecedentedly huge, even larger than Little Oz. He didn't know how many shadows he absorbed along the way. Even the clothes on his arms had been burst, but his eyes were still clear. Moria didn't know what kind of emotion he had towards Kaido. He didn't know whether it was fear or anger, but there was always a voice in his body telling him to kill Kaido. Die, die. Shadow hell. Countless shadows condensed into a sharp thorn jungle and stabbed towards Kaido's body. Moria's fists pounded the ground frantically, as if venting the resentment for many years. I say, you've had enough fighting, right? After a series of fierce attacks, Kaido's voice rang out from below, and Moria's fist stopped in midair. Kaido blocked Moria with only one hand. The other hand was still holding his wine gourd, and Moria couldn't even interrupt his drinking. If it's just a back rub, it's still qualified. But who are you? Who are you? These three words were like sharp steel nails, piercing Moria's heart. He couldn't forget his nightmare, a nightmare for more than 10 years, but he didn't even know who he was. Arsehole, you killed all my companions. Kaido, you actually forgot who I am. Shadowhorn gun. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm a pirate. I don't know how many pirates I have killed. Weak people are not qualified for me to remember their names. And you, a guy like me, actually let me do it myself? It seems that I was very weak at that time. Kaido drank the wine and the gourd. With a little drunkenness, Kaido looked at the giant Moria. Looks familiar. Jekis Moria. Kaido, remember this name with your body. I will give you everything in Wano country. Shadow box. The black shadow formed a square box around Kaido, then raised his palm and slapped it down, but before it touched, Moria's shadow box was torn in the middle by Kaido. I remember, it's you. You are much weaker than before. Moria could still fight with him for a few moves. Kaido thought he would grow a lot over the years, but he became weaker. It's my fault that I still remember you. This time I will completely forget you. Mingy. Boom. The columnar stick hit Moriya's abdomen. His huge body did not bring any advantages. Moriya flew backwards with one blow, and countless shadows ran out of his mouth. Boring. After the blow, Kaido never looked at Moriya again, but continued to walk towards the battlefield. 7 warlords of the sea were killed in one strike. That's not an opponent I should worry about. Focus on what's in front of me. The pirates are coming. Wait, something is falling from the sky again. It's a prisoner. On a naval gun platform, several gunners stared at the sky blankly. Since the beginning of this war, the number of things falling from the sky has increased inexplicably. This warship is the warship on the wave that Shaina and Jin saw. The people on the ship are the prisoners of Impel Down, and Luffy who wants to rescue his brother. Previously, in the Sabaody archipelago, Luffy was taken away with Heracross. They were taken to an island where Heracross gathered. Heracross on the island temporarily took them in, and brought Luffy the latest newspaper. With Heracross's flying ability, Luffy finally found the Navy's triangular current, and invaded Impel Down from high altitude. And he was able to enter Impel Down smoothly thanks to Blackbeard and his group. This gave Luffy the opportunity to rush in, and pass through the closed gate of justice. The reason he was able to get here was thanks to the sudden tsunami. With the help of the huge waves, he was able to get here smoothly at this time. As for Arceus, the initiator of the tsunami, he was still in the center of the triangular current at this time, but the vortex that had been rotating for decades disappeared at this time. Arceus' power forcibly stopped the rotation of this current, and it was precisely because the vortex was forcibly stopped by Arceus' power that this huge tsunami was derived. The tsunami that was enough to destroy the world in the eyes of others was just the aftermath of Arceus' attack. At this moment, the stone slab had emerged from the seawater and was floating just above the sea surface. Chapter 972 Fairy and Yulong's good brother is of course Bingsu. Some time ago, before Kaido arrived at Marineford, and when the Whitebird pirates and the Navy had just started fighting, Arceus' origin had already arrived near the triangular current. Except for the gates of justice in Judicial Island, Impel Down, and Marineford, the Navy's triangular current has always been undefended. They can't add fences and covers to the entire sea. The celestial dragons won't make such an investment, and it's completely unnecessary. Normal pirates won't get close to this current at all. The power of nature is hard to resist. If ordinary wind-powered sailboats and foreign ships are caught in the whirlpool current, there is no chance to escape. There are generally only 2 results of being trapped in the current: drifting endlessly, or surrendering directly to the Navy, so that even the escort link can be directly emitted. There are people who can break through this current. There are always very few people who have the ability to resist the current, but such people will not take the initiative to go to the hinterland of the Navy. So far, no pirate has been able to fight the entire Navy alone, whether it is the Lone Red or the Golden Lion, or Ox at the time. They all failed in the end. Arceus' origin can be said to have broken precedent. Lord Arceus, we have entered the Navy's triangular current. Where should we go next? With the power provided by the triangular current, the Navy's warships can save half of their time. Even with the power of the origin, it is difficult to get rid of the current. After being caught in the current, it entered a state of drifting. Turn left and head directly to the center. But the ship may capsize in that way. Just do it when you are asked to do it. You don't need to consider other things. Lord Arceus, he is new to the origin, and is not used to some things. Don't mind it. Common sense does not work on this ship. Looking at the sea, the origin is also a miracle. From the Sky Island to the underworld, there is no place that this ship has not been to. Relying on the power of Arceus itself, this ship is no longer an ordinary pirate ship. As for why Arceus still chooses to take a ship, on the one hand, it is a tradition on the sea, and on the other hand, he always feels that something is missing without a suitable means of transportation. The origin may not be the best, but it is the most convenient for him to use. It's okay. Turn the rudder. Yes. The helmsman rolled up his sleeves. According to his previous experience, if he wanted to force the rudder to turn in such a whirlpool, he would need to overcome great resistance, and he might not be able to do it alone. But when he turned the rudder, He found it unusually easy. At this time, the origin was already wrapped in a light blue light. It was more like the ocean itself than a ship. The turbulent current automatically bypassed the origin when it encountered it, allowing the origin to sail smoothly to the center. Around the time Kaido arrived at Marineford, the origin gradually approached the center of the whirlpool. Under the deep sea, Arceus also sensed the breath of his stone slab. It's really surprising that it's in such a place. This world is very large, and the territories outside have not been explored yet. Of course, they will not explore the hinterland of the Navy. That is, Arceus came here after hearing the news from the Millennium Dragon tribe. Then Arceus' eyes were dyed with a touch of blue. The blue light that was originally only wrapped around the origin spread to the entire ocean. The turbulent sea current stopped abruptly, and there was a roar on the sea surface. The triangular current was originally a speeding train. Under the influence of nature, this train kept speeding on a fixed route. But today, a pair of hands from outside the sky directly pressed the front of the train to death. When the front of the train was forcibly stopped by external forces, the carriages behind it would not be spared, but would cause a series of chain reactions. The same is true for the triangular current here. The center is fine, just some wind and waves. The closer to the periphery, the greater the impact of Arceus' interception of the triangular current. The sea water surged, and huge waves hundreds of meters high rushed to the surroundings. But all this has nothing to do with the origin. Except for Arceus, the people on the ship only have one feeling: cold. Why? Why is it so cold? Ziope, lend me one of your clothes. Don't move, sister, my hands seem to be frozen. The two were the strongest types on the ship except Arceus. Even they felt the cold, not to mention others. This was the result of the increase in the number of stone slabs. The return of the stone slabs did not simply add up the increase in power, but a terrifying doubling trend. In the past, when the stone slabs returned, they would only bring some changes in the aura, but with the return of the 15th stone slab, Arceus' own power has undergone a qualitative change again. The aura of the stone slab alone made the surrounding pirates feel seriously uncomfortable. And the one that can bring such severe cold is the icicle stone slab. After the goblins and jade dragons, the icicle, the three nemesis of the dragon system, has also returned successfully. Lord Arceus, please take back your power. We can't bear it a bit. This little guy has been sleeping in the sea for too long, and now he is a little excited. Under Arceus' control, the cold air was gradually taken back by the stone slabs, which also made the pirates on the ship breathe a sigh of relief. Boom. Boom. At this moment, a few splashes of water appeared on the sea surface, and the sound of the explosion also reached the ears of the pirates on the origin. Looking up, it was a warship from Judicial Island. According to the intelligence of the Navy, the most serious jailbreak in history occurred in Impel Down. At this time, the personnel of Impel Down were dealing with the follow-up, and the Navy of Marineford was fighting Whitebird. Only the Navy of Judicial Island was still idle, so it entered the triangular current to search for the traces of the jailbroken pirates. The origin made them misunderstand something, and directly launched an artillery attack. Lord Arceus, let me deal with it. It's a good time to move my body. The Navy and the pirates are enemies, and firing is a signal of declaration of war. Page 1 immediately issued a request for battle. No need, turn around and go to Marineford to see how Kaido is doing. Lord Arceus, do you ignore those Navy? They fired provocations. Ulti scratched his head. It was not a normal reaction for them to do nothing when the other party had already fired. It's just that you don't have to go. I just want to try something new. Don't you agree, Regius? The icicle slab, which had returned to the body, was released again, but no trace of cold air was released. Unlike Docre's last time, the power of the icicle slab was not released, but it acted as a core. With it as the center, the cold air gradually condensed into ice, and a sharp-edged ice giant appeared on the deck of the origin. Chapter 973, Ice God Pillaragius, the 5 Elders with a Headache. There are many ways for Pokémon to be born. They are not limited to ordinary life. In addition to regular animals, plants, clouds, air, rocks, steel, and element of nature can all become Pokémon. However, no matter what kind of carrier it is, the strongest carrier is always a stone tablet. Darkrai had exhausted the evil power in the evil-faced stone tablet because he had been performing tasks alone for a long time and even had to face unknown enemies. The Regius in front of him is even more special. As a member of the Regi family, they can also be called the God Pillar family or, well, the Toilet family. Unlike the previous fantasy Pokémon, it is not a so-called legendary Pokémon like Windspeed Dog. Regius is a true legendary Pokémon. Due to the special nature of the God Pillar family, they can even use Arceus' stone tablet as a core, but this core is only temporary and can be regarded as a short-term strengthening buff. After the matter is over, Arceus can still take back the stone tablet. Outsiders also have the ability to use the stone tablet, provided that they have obtained Arceus' consent. Under appropriate conditions, Arceus is not unwilling to lend the stone tablet, provided that the person knows how to return it. There are not only a few Regiuses. The ice is their bodies. As a very ancient Pokémon, Regiuses' bodies are covered with ice from the Ice Age. Some Regiuses have even slept in the glaciers underground for countless years. The Regiuses with icicle slabs as carriers are undoubtedly the strongest Regiuses. Different geometric bodies gradually condense together and then begin to expand under the influence of the icicle slabs, and finally a large Regius with a height of 17 meters is born. Go, teach them a lesson, and come back to me later. Regius. There are 7 yellow dots on the face of Regiuses that form a cross. That is their visual organ, and also the way they express their emotions. The 7 yellow dots flashed frequently, and a sharp sound came from the column. Then Regius jumped off the deck and floated above the sea surface, but the seawater under its feet was completely solidified under the influence of the cold air around its body. Turn, target Marineford. Yes. The Origin turned around and left, and Regius also locked onto his target, slowly drifting towards the ship sent by Judicial Island. What is that? A robot? An ice sculpture? I don't know, but it must be something bad, since it came from a pirate ship. Just attack. Start bombarding. Regius's target was large, and his movements were not fast. The dense shells exploded on Regius, but they did not cause any impact. Although his body was made of ice, Regius's body was very solid. The impact of the explosion could not affect him, and the shrapnel would be bounced off by the smooth ice surface. The Navy of Judicial Island did not realize the danger of the ice pillar. Its appearance did not look as dangerous as the 8-headed dragon, and it was even a little funny. However, as Regius approached, the gunfire stopped. What's going on? Keep firing. That guy is coming. The barrel is frozen. The gunners tried to pull the cannon, but to no avail. When they tried to fix the cannon, the ship shook violently. Boom! Exclamation mark. There was a large piece missing from the deck of the ship. Not far away, Regius's hands were still flashing with electric sparks. He did not use ice skills, but fired an electromagnetic cannon. He thought such a warship was not worth it, but Arceus must have his own purpose for asking him to act, so he wanted to force the ship to retreat and find the mastermind behind the ship, so he deliberately missed the electromagnetic cannon. If he wanted to destroy the warship immediately, the most direct way was to get close to the other party and kill the other party with the cold air emitted from his body. He deliberately drifted very slowly just to achieve his goal, and the warship in front saw that the artillery fire was ineffective and Regius was getting closer and closer, so he also chose to retreat. On the Origin, Arceus looked at Regius, who followed and was not worried about anything. The recovered stone slabs were different from the stone slabs that were lost before. He was looking for a dead mobile phone in a dark room, which was naturally very difficult. But after returning, it is equivalent to restarting the phone. Just make a call and you can quickly find its location. The icicle slab temporarily left in Regius's body is in such a state. The triangular current has disappeared, and the speed of navigation has slowed down a lot. But during the voyage of the Origin, some people are looking at the information in front of them. The Holy Land, Mirajoa, and the 5 elders looked at the report of the Navy and fell into deep thought. They are also paying attention to the battle situation in Marineford. This battle has a great impact on the development of the subsequent world. Kaido, his daughter, and some cadres have appeared in Marineford and restored Whitebeard's youth. Didn't Redhair say before that he would try to stop Kaido? Is this what he called stopping? I said a long time ago that Redhair has a problem. There must be a special connection between him, Whitebird and Kaido, but we haven't discovered it yet. Click, click, click. A sound of footsteps came from the outside world, and two communication soldiers came to the five elders. Report. The latest news from Judicial Island. They did not find the escaped prisoners in the Delta Current, but found the pirate ship of the beasts, led by Arceus. Report to the five elders. Intelligence from Impelton, including the 6th floor. A large number of prisoners escaped, and their current whereabouts are unknown. Deputy Director Hannibal was seriously injured, and the guard Shiryu of the Long Reign rebelled. Director Magellan is trying to suppress the remnant, and the specific situation needs to be recounted. However, the leaders of the prison break have been identified, namely the Straw Hat Boy, Monkey D. Luffy, Blackbird, Marshall D. Teach, and the Joker, Buggy. The blonde five elders waved his hand, signaling the messenger to leave. After they left, the few people continued the talks. A large number of prisoners on the 6th floor have escaped. This is not good news. Suppress the news first. The escape of monsters on the 6th floor will cause panic. The situation that has finally stabilized cannot be destroyed like this. These guys with D in their names are really annoying. The bold five elders holding a knife seemed very impatient. The long knife he had been holding in his hand had part of the blade exposed. He looked very disgusted with the so-called will of D. And that clown Buggy. This person is actually Roger's crew member and Red Hair's brother. Is his hiding in the East China Sea also part of Red Hair's plan? The five elders with a goatee thought of Roger's pirate group. It stands to reason that there will be stains on any ship, but Buggy's performance and intelligence is too different from Roger's pirate group. If it weren't for the solid evidence, he would find it hard to believe that Buggy is Roger's trainee. These are not important for now. Red-haired guy doesn't like chaos and he shouldn't cause any big trouble. The focus is the rejuvenated Whitebird. If those old guys hear about this technology, who knows what they will do. Let's send someone to take a look first. Kaido, Yamato, Arceus, and most of the top officials of the beasts are not in Wano country. This is probably the weakest defense of Wano country in decades. We can send someone to sneak in and try. Isn't there a CP0 team nearby? Satan, who temporarily has a name, put forward his own suggestion. They have been curious about the secrets of Wano country for a long time. Chapter 974 Olga and Red Hair's updated battle record. There is a backup plan in Wano country, and there is no need to guess about this matter, but this is the best opportunity. It is too rare for the high-level combat forces to be almost dispatched in full force, and the five elders don't know when they will encounter a similar opportunity again. Orders were sent from Merijoa to the outside world, and Red Hair, who was questioned by the five elders, also launched his own actions some time ago. Among the pirates, Shanks is the one who least wants to see the top war, so when Ace set out, he tried to persuade Whitebird to bring Ace back, but he did not succeed. Even if he received the news of the top war, he wanted to control the scope of the war, and not let too many forces be involved. Among the many forces on the sea, Kaido is the most likely to get involved in this war, so Red Hair hopes to persuade Kaido to stop. However, the number of cadres under Kaido is sufficient now, enough for him to split his troops into 3 routes to achieve his goal, and Shanks can't stop him, even if he wants to. There are too many routes from Wano country to the Navy headquarters, and he can't keep an eye on Kaido at all. He can only try his luck at the intersection of Kaido and Whitebird's territory. If Kaido wants to attack Whitebird's territory, this road is inevitable. Red Hair tried to contact Kaido by phone, but Kaido hung up the phone as soon as he said a word. It is a fantasy to persuade Kaido not to interfere in this war. While Shanks was making the layout, Olga and Jack had successfully reunited. Sister Olga, do you really want to do this? As long as he is stronger than Jack, he will obey the other party's arrangements. Olga is definitely not Jack's opponent in a head-on attack, but if the two really fight, Jack probably can't even touch the other party. The ability of illusion is not friendly to his melee defense, but it is not so easy for Olga to defeat Jack. After all, Jack is too thick-skinned now. Well, you take people to go around from the side. I will go to explore the way alone. If there is really someone blocking, I will deal with it. The Navy will not intervene in such things. The only ones who have the ability to interfere with the operation of the beasts are Red Hair and Charlotte Lindlin. If it was Charlotte Linlin, they would definitely choose to temporarily unite and divide Whitebeard's territory first, so there is no need to worry. The only one who can really stop them is Shanks. After all, only Red Hair knows what he is thinking. In order not to delay the team's journey, Alga divided the troops again. Red Hair is a pirate as famous as Brother Kaido. Can you do it alone, sister? Don't worry, it's just Red Hair. My record with him is 2:0. He and his little brothers are not my opponents. Among the big carters of the beasts, the one with the best record is not Quinn who escaped from a canoe, nor Jin who fought against Teotu and others, but Olga, a woman who once played with the 4 Emperors Shanks in her hands, and played with him twice. This is not a lie, but an objective fact, which happened a long time ago. But no matter what, it is still very face-saving to tell this matter. In order to maintain this glorious record, she never had any conflict with Red Hair again. As long as they didn't fight, she would always be 2:0. Besides, I don't plan to fight him. If he shows up here, it means he doesn't have time to stop Captain Kaido. At that time, it doesn't matter if I tell him where Captain Kaido went. Captain Kaido won't refuse to have one more person on the battlefield. You just need to hurry up and go around. Under Olga's arrangement, the Shadow Fox took the lead, and Jack temporarily followed behind, deciding whether to fight head-on or take a detour according to the situation. At this time, they had reached the border sea area, but the Shadow Fox had stopped. At this time, only illusions were sailing forward. Big Boss. It appeared. It was Kaido's Beast King, and Kaido was on it. Simple observation haki was useless for Alga to create illusions now. If it was a special observation haki like Roger or Otterheim, which could capture the target's voice, it would indeed be able to detect the abnormality of the illusion. But the predictive ones don't work. Alga's illusion is a special illusion that really exists. Even if you predict the future for dozens of minutes, those illusions still exist on the sea. And even if you practice the observation haki to the level of predicting the future, you can't predict that long. So it's unrealistic to use predictive means to distinguish the truth from the falsehood of the illusion. Either you can achieve targeted ability, or use powerful firepower to attack indiscriminately and find Alga's body. Otherwise it will be very difficult to break the illusion. Whether it is seen by the naked eye, or perceived by domineering, what appeared in front of them was the real fleet led by Kaido himself. Kaido, go back. It's not good for you to participate in this battle. Your territory is big enough now. Shanks's full voice came into Olga's ears, but she didn't respond. She just manipulated Kaido's illusion and made a move. If she responded, she would have to use her ability on the red-haired man to deceive his hearing. The illusion she created would not be detected by ordinary observation haki, but it was different when the ability was used on others. If she did that, Red Hair would soon find out the abnormality, so she said nothing and just continued to delay time. At first, Shanks hadn't noticed the problem. The eyes of the illusion Kaido were very realistic, and the action of drinking was consistent with Red Hair's cognition. But Kaido kept drinking without responding, which made Shanks feel something was wrong. With Kaido's personality, it was normal to hit him directly. Boss, it seems not right. It's not right. Then change the way of greeting. After noticing some abnormalities, the domineering aura of the conqueror pressed on the illusion in front. Under the influence of this pressure, Kaido's figure began to become illusory, and the King of Beasts also turned into a dilapidated sailing ship. The dilapidated fence was directly shattered under the influence of Shanks' domineering aura. Boss, it's fake. Where is the real Kaido who fooled all of us? Ahem. Hey, you should be able to hear me. A friendly reminder. Captain Kaido should have arrived at Marineford by now. Alga's voice came from a set phonograph on the dilapidated wooden boat. She didn't want to show up in front of Shanks at all. She was just controlling her illusion at the maximum distance. By the way, I'll help you recall that you and that red-nosed guy lost to me twice, but the fact that you can hear this recording means that you found the problem this time, so let's call it a draw. Chapter 975, A More Chaotic Marineford. There was a rewinding sound from the phonograph, and Alga's voice sounded again. She also set the playback function on the phonograph, intending to show off her glorious achievements again. Click. Lucky Luke crushed the phonograph left by Olga with one foot and took out a new piece of barbecue from behind. Boss, what should we do now? It seems that we have been fooled. Go to Marineford and stop those guys before they make a more terrifying situation. Don't care about this place. Don't care. Her trace is not that easy to track. It's a waste of time to find her. If we come up empty-handed again, it will be really troublesome. Whitebird will at least take care of his subordinates and Ace, and will not destroy at all costs. But Kaido is different. If Kaido is allowed to go crazy in Marineford without restraint, the cost will be devastating. The 100,000 Navy of the Navy headquarters are drawn from all over the world. If the loss of these 100,000 people is too exaggerated, it will cause a major blow to the order of the Navy in other areas. Although it will not shake the foundation, it will make them lose their ruling power in a short period of time. At present, the rules of the world are set by the world government, and the Navy is also the greatest order. Without the guardian of this order, the sea will become more chaotic, which is not what Red Hair wants to see. He came here because he was deceived by an illusion and mistakenly thought that Kaido was leading the team in person. And he believed Olga's words not because of trust, but because of his understanding of Kaido's character. If it was Kaido who led the team, he would never trick himself away in this way, but would come up with a stick and fight with himself first. The Redverse turned its course and headed towards Marineford. By the way, Big Boss, have you really lost to that woman twice? Shanks got along very harmoniously on the ship. The crew members didn't give Shanks much face on weekdays. They all had a strong interest in the dark history of Red Hair. I lost before. I really miss those days. So that woman really defeated you head on. A long time ago. That was a long time ago. Now I will definitely not lose again. Shanks' voice was a little funny. This was his usual style. Before the war, such a style could make the crew relax. Even he could not guarantee whether his face would be useful at that time, and whether it would cause a new battle. Marineford, before the new forces arrived, became more chaotic. The emergence of the jailbreak forces made the already chaotic battlefield even more chaotic. A cadre of the Revolutionary Army, a jailbreak, and a former Shichibukai male? What kind of combination is this? Looking at the strange combination that appeared in the warship falling from the sky, the soldiers at the turret didn't know how to evaluate this combination, and Garp on the execution platform looked even uglier. His two grandsons appeared on the battlefield at this time, and their identities were the pirates that Garp least wanted to see. Sengoku's expression did not change much under the background of the Buddha, and he did not even care much. Compared with Kaido before, these people were nothing. All of them together did not cause as much damage as Kaido's men. The Navy was in a complicated mood, and the jailbreak forces were the same. On the way from Impel down to the Marine headquarters, they had no channels to obtain intelligence from Marineford. They thought it was a battle between Whitebird and the Marine headquarters, but the situation on the scene was much more complicated than they imagined. Kaido, the madman, is he here too? Straw Hat Boy, this battlefield seems to have become more complicated. Ivankov, who was lurking on the 5.5th floor of Impel Down, chose to escape from prison because of Luffy's identity. As for how he knew Luffy's identity, it all depended on Heracles beside him. In order to make Ivankov understand this matter, Heracles drew a simple sketch on the scene. Although it was abstract, it accurately conveyed his meaning. Kaido? Why is he here? But who is Whitebird? Didn't they say that he was the old man? I didn't see him. Luffy didn't care about the chaos here. He just wanted to rescue Ace. No matter how powerful the enemy was here, his goal would not change. It was just that he had heard the name Kaido too many times, so he had doubts. Heh, where there is war, there is Kaido. It's normal for him to be here. As for Whitebird, isn't he there? The golden hook pointed forward. Crocodile, who had finished his enlightenment, left his training place. Among the group of escaped prisoners, he was the first to see the abnormality of Whitebird. He was impressed by what Whitebird looked like when he was young. It was not good news for him that the old guy had become younger, especially when he saw Whitebird fighting Kizaru and Akainu at the same time and not losing. Crocodile's heart was even darker. Whoosh! A sound of breaking through the air sounded, and half of Crocodile's head suddenly disappeared. Doflamingo had come here quietly. Long time no see, Crocodile bastard. I heard that you were arrested and imprisoned. I was sad for a long time. After all, I was the one who told that woman your information. Desert Diamond Sword. Crocodile's arm turned into yellow sand and stabbed Doflamingo. This sentence was a big blow to him. You bastard. My plan of more than 10 years has been completely ruined because of a word from you. Hey, you can't say that. Even without me, you may not succeed. Now I have a chance for you. How about joining forces with me? This sea is about to undergo unprecedented great changes. Only by seizing the opportunity can you succeed. The white lines formed a shield in Doflamingo's hand, blocking Crocodile's resentful attack, and then continued to invite him to form an alliance. You should have seen that. That is the difference in strength. You don't have the ability to defeat those monsters, so relying on the power of these monsters is the best choice. But now, I just want your head. Crocodile, a desertified crocodile, appeared behind Doflamingo and smashed his head with a golden hook. He wanted to settle old scores with Whitebird, but that area was impossible to get close to now. The magma, laser, and vibration were affecting the surroundings. As the battle intensified, they could no longer control the aftermath of the battle. From time to time, the navy or pirates were hit by the aftermath. From minor injuries to serious deaths, both pirates and navy were trying to stay away from that area. Unable to intervene there, Doflamingo, who came to the door, just absorbed Crocodile's resentment. Straw Hat Boy, this battlefield is extremely dangerous. You can't be Straw Hat Boy now. After Crocodile ran to fight Doflamingo, Ivankov wanted to explain the situation of the battlefield to Luffy and let him understand the dangers of this battlefield. He is the son of Dragon, which is why Ivankov is willing to help him. But before he could finish his words, Luffy had already run away. Ace, I'm here to save you. You're so impulsive. It's not like you to be a dragon, Beetler boy. You've worked really hard. There's nothing we can do, everyone. Let's charge together. Following a strange laugh, Ivankov and his men jumped off the warship and rushed towards the execution platform. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.